Hey there, love. Welcome to the Reignited podcast. I'm your host, Jen, and I have my lovely co host, Sam, joining us today. We have a very special guest to share with you all. She is an incredible woman with an amazing story. You might know her as the winner of the 2021 The Chosen USA singing competition. She is Sandra Pérez.
Hello, hello, hello. Good
Welcome,
afternoon, ladies.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Sandra. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We're so excited to have you on the podcast.
That's
And we have our lovely
awesome.
co host, Sam, who is joining us for a
Woo,
short
woo.
time here. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
After all of my
So, yeah,
nonsense, I'm here.
I know. Yeah, we've been having some struggles this week, but we're powering through, right, ladies? We're powering through
Yes,
and we're here and we're recording and we're chatting with you lovely girls. So this is exciting.
exactly. Thank you guys for having me. I'm so honored. The first time, that Jen introduced me to the whole podcast, I was blown away. You guys are doing such a good thing. And I was telling Jen, like, right now it's the time for women to rise up and speak their truth, speak their beliefs, and speak reality. I think this generation likes to live in, like, I believe, like, ooh, floating around, but reality is coming to pass and we're like not doing anything about it. So it's so nice to see that, women like you guys are rising up and speaking truth and speaking the gospel. So I love it.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
having
Thank
me.
you. Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm really excited to have you. And I think that you have such an incredible story. And that's clearly what I know I preach this on every single podcast episode, but this is really what Live Reignited is all about. And this is
Mhm.
why I started it and I developed it. Obviously, by the grace of God, his hand has been in it through this entire, like, from start to finish. And it's not even finished. I mean, we're still in the
Wow.
very beginning stages of it, but it's exciting to see that he's allowing me and bringing
Mhm.
wonderful, amazing, strong women like yourself into my path so we can share your story. So we're just so blessed and honored to have you as well. And yeah, so I know you have a pretty incredible story, Sandra. So we love to
Aw.
hear it. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got
Yeah.
to be where you are today.
Wow, that's a really big one. My story, I mean, like everyone else's, we all have, things that we had to go through in order to be where we're at today. But I am Cuban. I was born and raised in Cuba. I came to the United States when I was 10 years old, but um,
Um,
I've always felt the relationship that I had with God was so strong since I was a little girl. I used to dance with my sister and she used to sing and stuff, but it would be on like the quiet times and the alone times that I would speak to God. And it's so weird. Some people tell me, oh, like there's no way that, you had a relationship with God as a young girl because you still don't have that whole entire knowledge of who God is.
Sure.
But I did, man. Like, I just think about my childhood and I'm so blessed to have those moments with him. I would just speak to him and every time I would walk around and just be with myself, I'll be constantly talking to God like, wow, the sun is so pretty, God. Like, how did you do that? And it was like these
That's
innocent
beautiful.
conversations that, I look back and I smile because that was the foundation of who I am today. But my grandfather always, when my mom would leave me to go with my sister out to places because I was just too young, I would stay with my grandfather and my grandma, and we would do shows. Like I would perform in front of him, and then he would like declare, "And now with everyone, Sandra performing to the world," and that was the seed, right? I'm a big believer that you got to speak life to your kids. The only
Yes.
person who's gonna root for them aside from God is mom and dad, your
Right.
parents. And my granddad, was that voice for me. Like since day one, he always believed in me. And so when I came to United States, he didn't come with me. It was just my dad, my mom, and my sister and I. And that culture shock was really big for me. First of all, coming to a new place, new culture, new language, so basically starting from scratch. as a 10-year-old, having a really strong relationship with God and going to, a state where, I don't know, when I came, going to church was not as important as it was in Cuba. Like, we wanted to go to church, like we needed it. It was like this hole that we knew only God would be able to fill. But now you have technology and you have cars and you have, all these distractions happening. And as a young girl, I got distracted and I started, to little by little let go of that relationship with God. And, I got bullied, and it was just like all these bad things kept happening to me. And I was like, okay, so you're clearly not there, because yes, when the good times were good, you were there, but now it's bad and you're not here. Or at least I thought he wasn't there, right?
He's always there, right?
Always there. He's always there. So when that happened, there was a specific moment in life where, something did happen to me, and that's what really did break my relationship with God, because I would blame him. And I hated God to such a high degree that I would, do stuff to myself, like harm myself, because I knew I was the body of Christ. And as his creation, that's what would hurt him the most. And I
Wow.
would do it so often, and it was just to get his attention, because I thought I didn't have
Yeah.
it. I thought I didn't have his attention at all. And, high school years came by, I stopped going to church. And um, when I went into high school, I found this local church. It was great. I auditioned for to be a dancer, but my heart was not in it. Like, I didn't feel the Holy Spirit. And I was like, I'm gonna get out of this. This is like pointless. Why am I even trying again? Like, why am I keep pursuing this relationship if it's just one-sided? And then, we got invited to another church, and that church was where it really developed who I was as a person, as a Christian, as a child of God, as a whole. And I started dancing there, and God, little by little, started working on me. I started seeing the truth as it was, like God was there. There
Yeah.
could have been worse things that could have happened to me. But he was always there comforting me. I just chose not to listen to him. And so everything was going great. I stayed in that church for over 8 years. So it was a long time.
Wow.
And it came to my 18th birthday, I believe it was, or 19th birthday, and my family decided to move again. Oh Lord, it's always in the moves. It's always in the moves. That detachment,
Yeah.
that really like can unsettle you. And my father never really went to church. He is Christian and he loves God, but at the time I didn't believe in, like, oh, you can't be a Christian and not go to church. Like, if you're Christian, you know, you're gonna go to church. If not, you're not Christian. And so once we moved and I saw that he kept on not going to church, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give up on church again. Not on God. Okay,
Just on
let's do
church.
this. Just on church. Because church was the bad thing. Church was the bad thing to me. And I was like, if my dad's not gonna go, I'm not gonna go. Like, what's like, why? Why should I, start all over again, make friends again, so that I can move later on?
Yeah.
And I stopped going to church and I completely dove into work. I used to be a manager in Victoria's Secret, and
Wow.
that was what I used to live and breathe by. It was work, work every single day. I would make up extra hours without even needing to. And then I would go to my house and then be in my room, locked all day, all day. And when I came to the United States, I got into that world of like heavy metal and rock music and all this bad influence. And I went back to that. And depression came back, anxiety came back, eating disorders came back. And it was just all these dominoes effects that were happening in my life until my mom she's a hairstylist, so one of her clients had invited her to this church that was really good, and the pastor was like very prophetic. And I was like, I'm not gonna go. And she kept on persisting and persisting. I was like, okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to go if you let me have a piercing. Okay, I'm a 19-year-old girl living with her parents, okay, mind you. And I still ask my parents for permission. I've always been very respectful with my parents. I never like to give them headaches. I don't know why. But I've always been like that. It was just always me with God and the church. I've always had that fight, you know. But she said, okay, we're gonna go do it. We're gonna go get your piercing, but you're gonna go to church with me. You're gonna go to this specific church with me. And I remember it was a Wednesday, and I went, and oh man, God was in that place, and he had something else coming for me.
Oh.
It's like he had built up so much, and he was finally letting me have it. You know, because you run so much from God for no reason. At the end of the day, he's gonna come get you. He's gonna come get you, and if he has a plan for your life, and he has spoken life into your life, he is gonna come find you one way or the other. We're just wasting time, you know, if we run away from him.
True. Yeah.
And the pastor, God used the pastor to speak everything. So mind you, I'm a person that I don't like to tell people my problems. I like to keep it in. I just don't like bothering people, you know, with personal stuff, because I know people already going through stuff. And he said everything that I had was going through in front of my mom.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
So I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? I was like freaking out, but also like freaking out because God was speaking to me, you know, not in a harsh way, but he was speaking the truth that I already knew in my heart.
Yeah.
And
And
my
that's
mom
what
was
he does,
crying.
right? He does. He
Exactly.
speaks truth, and it's lovingly. So it's not, you
loving.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel like I'm gonna kill you now. Like that's not how I felt. I felt liberated, actually. In a way, I was just like, oh, okay, I can rest now because now it's out. It's out there. I don't have to hide it. I don't have to fake it. But my mom
Right.
was bawling, and I was bawling like a kid too. It was like, what is going on? So many emotions. But you know, I took that day as a challenge of like, okay, maybe the church was not wrong. I was the wrong one. You know, I was the one not opening up my heart enough to let God work in me. You know, and that's the problem with today's society. Like we like to blame the church. Church is always a problem. It's the easiest target to go towards, you know, but we never reflect on what we're doing. Like maybe we're the wrong ones. Maybe we're just, letting this filter that we already carry define what's right and what's wrong. And that could be very dangerous. At least for me, it was like it really put me down. I lost sight of the truth of God. I lost sight of who I was as his child. And I felt empty all that time. I felt utterly empty and alone and disregarded and unused. And God doesn't want that for us. You know, in the Bible, it says that.
Right.
So as soon as I got that, I was like, whoa, okay, maybe I'm the wrong one. Let's go back and see what I did wrong. And I didn't go back to that church, which is a funny thing. But it was more me, again, trying to look exactly what I did wrong and where I had fallen through. Because if I would have just to go back, I could have felt a fault there and done the cycle all over again. So I gave myself time, and then I went back to church, and I decided to drop my position because if I had that position, I couldn't go on Sundays. And I wanted to serve. I was like, God, I'm in it. Even in the hard times, even in the good times, I want to serve you. And I wanted to start with a dance team because I've been a professional dancer for a long time. So I was like, oh, this is what I do. God, that's not what God had in plans for me, which is what he always does, puts you in uncomfortable situations, challenges you. And my mother-in-law, well, my pastor, but my mother-in-law now, she told me, she's like, hey, no, like we have a lot of dancers. We need singers. We don't have enough. We're struggling. Can you sing? And I was like, Yes. I was like, sure. I had done it before, but it was never like I knew that was my calling. I knew that that was not my calling. Okay. I was like, that
Yeah.
is not me. I got bullied, when I was in high school because I didn't sing. And I used to try to, audition for high school plays, and I never got it because I didn't know how to sing. And
Wow.
somehow at that time, which I didn't know, but at that time, God used that as an excuse to have me interested in singing. And that's how I started to teach myself how to sing. I never went to classes. I never, pursued anything on that. I was just so bothered by people making fun of me in that area that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show them that I can't do that.
Wow.
And God used that moment to help that church at that time with worship. And then little by little, they got me to leading. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm new to this church and I'm already leading these people. Like, they don't know me. Like, how, like, who am I to stand in front of them and lead them into worship? So God had to
Wow.
really work in me because it's not about us. Like, our gifts are not about us, they were
Right.
given by God to us to be used for His purpose, not ours. Like, we
Right.
have nothing to do in that category. So um there was one moment where I led worship and I came down and we were done with service, and somebody came to me and was like, hey, the way that you worshiped really impacted my life to the point where I was feeling very depressed, and I've been struggling for a couple months, and seeing you sing with your heart just gave me hope. Gave me hope and
Wow.
everything was going to be okay.
Wow.
And I was
That's
like,
amazing.
That is amazing.
exactly. Do you know what's to hear that you are able to impact somebody else just by singing? The
Wow.
simplest thing, singing or
That's
playing an
Yeah.
instrument, right? And she said that to me, and I was like, so it's not about me. And it's not. That's our duty as sons and daughters of God. That's our duty to use the talents and the gifts that He has given us for His glory,
Right.
to get people to understand that He's the only way, and there's nothing else in the world that can fill you like He can. So after
Exactly.
that, I was like, okay, I got you. Because at that moment, in that season in my life, I was already starting to understand things that God was showing me. And like I had more of a clear vision. Like I could see things more clearly. And I was like, got it. I'm going to focus on that. And a couple months passed, and I was talking to my mom very serious. And my uncle was there with me. And we were talking about school. We were talking about like what I wanted to be. And I had already done my associates in criminal justice, but I was kind of like looking to see what was next.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of psychology. I was like, maybe a mental health counselor, that would be good, to help people and give them tools to, work through these problems. And I don't know what came over me, but I told my mom, I was like, you know what? I'm going to have worship and singing as my career
That's
out of nowhere.
amazing. See, that's amazing though, but that's how God works. I mean,
Yes,
I can relate because I went through the same thing. I had a career as most of you, well, Sam
exactly.
knows, but I had a career for over a decade and I worked my way
Wow.
up and I just didn't feel fulfilled. I just knew
Nope.
that that wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I left it all. I gave it all up
Wow.
to pursue this ministry. Live Reignited is my ministry. And yes, it's just to my point is sometimes it may not be the way that you think your life is
Exactly.
going to play out.
Yeah.
And God just kind of steps in and surprises you. But
Yep.
the cool thing is that He always gives you the tools, the resources. He always places the things that you need
Hmm.
to take off with whatever that is, and for you, it was
Exactly.
singing, and that's just so
Exactly.
cool to hear, like, that
I
you
love
were going in a totally different direction and
Yes.
but that you're being obedient, because I think that's another
Yes.
thing,
You have
being
to.
obedient to His voice and what He's telling you and what you know in your heart
Hmm.
you're supposed to be doing, because so many people just they're afraid. They're
Yes.
afraid to follow that, and they're afraid to follow their passion, and
Exactly.
they don't end up walking in their purpose, and it's
No.
sad, but the people
Mm-mm.
that do, they I mean, you're going to have to give up a lot, you're
Yes.
sacrificing, but it's so worth it in the end. I mean,
It's
look at
so
where you're
worth
at now.
it. Oh gosh. Who
Doing
would have known? Like I was talking actually, we went to dinner yesterday with Chris Rocha and Debbie Navedo. We were at a dinner and I was telling them like, who would have thought a little girl in Cuba, like I still get emotional when I say that, like would one day be able to make music,
And
godly
beautiful
music.
music, by the way, very anointed
Oh, thank
music,
you.
by the way. I remember
a couple of your
I was telling
songs, but
Sandra when we
Oh.
first were introduced via social, man, I was telling her I had seen her a few months ago in Chicago in concert. And I didn't know of Sandra, but I was the first time I saw her, and
Yeah.
Debbie as well. And it was your voice is just so anointed, and you
Oh,
could just feel God's presence
no.
in there. And that to me is huge because I'm
It
very
is.
particular about my worship music.
Exactly. You
That's
should
how I
be.
worship. So I'm very particular, but I have to feel the anointing.
Yeah.
And it's so there. It's just amazing.
No, glory to God,
So
man. Like it's all in. It's all him. And
yeah.
and you could see that in my testimony. Like every
Yeah.
time that I've questioned myself has gotten me nowhere. But every time I just put my trust in him, it's like doors keep opening up. Doors that
Yeah.
I've never thought that I would be able to. I was telling Jen, like, I was like, you need to move out here, Texas. I'm so sorry, Sam. I'm like, you need to move out here.
Texas too. She's not going anywhere without me.
Hey, I'll take
Looks
you
like you're
with
gonna
her,
move
okay?
too.
Exactly. I'll take both of you. Because I felt it with her. Yeah, so it's just so beautiful, like we can all talk about our stories and really identify that every time we've trusted God, it has not been in vain. He
Yeah.
proves us wrong. Like you can come to me however you are, broken, shattered, however you are, and be put back to pieces when you go to him. It's so
Yes.
crazy.
It's
It's so
amazing. It's
crazy.
beautiful. It's a
It's so
beautiful
beautiful.
thing. It's such a beautiful thing, and I
It
think for
is.
a lot of women who've experienced such really tragic things
Mhm.
throughout their lives,
Mhm.
and someone who's, I mean, you've dealt with tragedy,
Mhm.
Sam, as have you, Sandra. I have as well,
Mhm.
but it's just I'll never forget the moment that I knew I gave it all to God
Yeah.
because I was questioning everything, and I was on my knees, I was literally crying out to God, and
Oh,
within literally like that, everything changed.
wow.
Everything changed. And it's like, just how can you not just wanna give your life and everything you're doing for his kingdom when that
Literally.
happens? Like, and it makes me sad for the women that haven't experienced that yet,
Mm.
but it's just amazing when it does happen
It
because
does.
that's part of your testimony. It's part of your
Yes.
testimony, and it's beautiful. Makes me emotional.
It
Makes me
does.
emotional.
I mean, I'm still trying to find myself, but I'm going
Yeah.
back to school. I'm doing this podcast.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah,
There's
and
a
Sam, yeah, you're amazing. Sam is still very new in her walk and what she's doing, and
God.
she's finding herself. But man, I just give you so many props and applause, Sam, because
Oh,
Sandra, I know you'll probably hear more about our testimonies. I know you know a little bit about me,
yeah.
but Sam's testimony, she's gone through so much. She lost both of her
Oh.
parents and while she was pregnant, and she has a
Oh my
really incredible
gosh.
testimony as well. And she is just I'm so proud of where she's come, and being on
thank
this
you.
podcast with me and being my co-host. I know that was a big ask. Like I asked Sam, I'm like, I know this is a big ask, and I know it's not something that you're used to, but I just feel in my heart that you're supposed to be my co-host. I
Oh
believe that
my
you're supposed to help
God.
me with this
Oh,
podcast,
yeah,
and
so
yeah, and tell your story and share your testimony and help women, because I
Yes.
believe that Sam is going to help so many women in terms of
Amen.
grief and her experiences as
yeah,
well. And it's
Amen.
beautiful. It's
I'm
beautiful, and
Oh,
it's so awesome to have you ladies here right now with
yes.
me. I am so blessed. I could just cry. I wish I could just give you a virtual
I
hug,
know.
both of
It's
you. Oh
um
my goodness.
oh, it's so good. This is so good. I love this. I love
Thank
this.
you
It's
for letting
amazing.
me be a co-host and for, being able to be by your side and to share everything about our journeys from our friendship to our children.
Oh,
So you've always been there. You've been there for me through all of my hard times. I'm trying not to cry because my eyelashes
oh
are
my God.
Girl,
Oh,
you're gonna make my mascara, everything is gonna be
oh,
running down my face.
but it's
oh
amazing.
gosh.
It's amazing to finally be able to, come forward and tell people my story and,
Mhm.
start my testimony and,
Yeah.
let everybody know that this is where I came from. I mean, I have a lot of women and men who message me to talk to me about, grief,
Oh,
and it's amazing. It's amazing to be a part of it and to actually be able to share my story because I
yeah.
don't think everybody truly knows. And Sandra, I'm so incredibly happy to have you here. You are an amazing woman. Jen got
Oh.
turned on to your music, girl. When you sent it to me, so I mean,
I
Oh,
did. You know I
great.
did right away. I was like,
oh
"You have
my
to." I actually sent
gosh.
that song to Sam months ago when I first heard it. I'm like, "You have to hear
Dude.
this song. This
Ah,
is amazing." And you already saw my daughter, Sandra. She did the flags for you.
she's
She
so
loves that
cute.
song. Thank you.
I fell
She
in love with
loves that
her.
song. She's just, oh, I love my baby
She's
girl. She's
adorable.
just,
Oh my
she's
God.
such,
She's
oh,
so
she's
cute.
just
I was
amazing.
telling Jen, I was like, I want my kids to be like yours. Like I really do. I don't have kids, okay? But I want them to be like that. I want them to have that passion from the get-go. Like I did when I was young. Like I want them to fall in love with stuff like that, like just worshiping God. Because there's nothing like that. Like there's nothing.
There really
There's
And
there
nothing.
really isn't, and it's been a journey for me too. Like, my kids always knew of God, but it got stronger as I became older, as I had more kids,
Oh.
so I really just tried to make sure as I had more children. That's why I'm so passionate about it with my daughter, because
Mhm.
she's so much like me and she loves the things that I love, and she is just so passionate about it. I don't even have to tell her. She'll pull out I got her little pink Bible. She's got her little pink Bible. And if she sees me doing Bible study, or like,
Oh
I'm in school, I'm in
gosh.
ministry school right now. And so I'll be studying, and
Good.
she'll come to me and she'll be like, "Mama, can I come sit and we read the Bible together? We learn about Jesus." I'm like,
Oh
"Absolutely." And she's
yes.
just the cutest. So she opens it and she tells her own story, but it's so funny because there was one time she made me make a little prayer area in her room for her,
Oh,
just like mine.
oh,
So she was sitting in it one day, and I actually have it recorded, but she was like reading the Bible and telling the story of Jesus
oh
and
my God.
how he was like, although he like the bad guys hurt Jesus, but he came back. And I was just
Oh,
so surprised, because it's like, I mean, we read about the Bible, but I've never told her like the in-depth
yeah.
stuff about his
Correct.
crucifixion or any, and she just knew about it. So that's how I know
Oh,
my daughter has a relationship already
yes,
with God,
exactly.
and
she
it
does.
makes me so happy.
Exactly.
She's amazing, and that's my goddaughter, and I have my
Yeah.
sons. Even Jonathan, like we pray every single night. It's
He
great.
says
Wow.
his prayers, it's so sweet. She
Oh
sent
And
me
my
video of him saying his
gosh.
prayers, and I melt every single time, every time. He's the cutest, and he's only 2. He's such a little baby, but oh my
What?
god. Yeah.
I'll
Oh my God.
speak to him. He's not home, which is good, but
Oh my God. You guys are giving me baby fever. I don't want it. Okay. I can't. I'm like, no. No, no, no.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness. One day, I already told you, one day it's gonna
oh my
happen.
God,
I don't
Jen,
know
you
when, but
stop
it's gonna
it.
happen.
wait,
Stop it.
I can't. Okay, I will make you a huge promise. When that day happens, I will fly to Texas specifically for you.
We'll go to Texas.
Yes.
I may already be down there living. I don't know what God has planned for me. I already told you I've had a calling on Texas for years. Me and my husband were talking about it. He's like, "I don't
Yup.
know what I would do in Texas yet right now." I'm like, "Who?
There's
I
so
ain't
much
worried
to
about
do
it.
in Texas.
I'm trusting God, like, just in
Girl,
terms of
no.
work, because I mean, he works for the military, but he has like his civilian job here. That's really good. But I'm like, who knows? Like, who knows what's gonna happen a year from now, let
Dude,
alone like
I'm
3
telling
years.
you. I'm
But
telling you, Texas is where it's at.
I'm telling
Sam.
you, I don't know what it is. We might be down there. But if we're not
Going with
living
that
down there by the
way.
time you have your babies, we're coming down there for your baby shower. You best believe we're showing up with
Ooh,
gifts.
godly. I'm thinking about it already, and it's beautiful to know that, the gift that we are able to carry, and expand, thanks to God. But it's so scary. I was telling Jen, I was like, this generation, like, it's like she said, there's still women out there who still haven't found, like, their voice, or they haven't found their calling. And I can just think about, my little girls, like, how am I able to, show them that it's okay? Because, hey, everybody's gonna go through stuff. Everybody. That's
Right.
part of our walk. That's part of life. That's what makes us and shapes us.
Yeah.
And it's okay. But the walk to get to where we are today is hard. And
Yes.
it could make you make wrong decisions and take you to the wrong path. So you have to have the people, that are godly, like how we were
Right.
talking, godly relationships. This is a good circle. We can encourage each other through Bible verses, through prayer, through,
Yeah.
an encouraging word, like, not someone who's going to be like, hey, yes, go ahead, get into
Right.
fights, get into drugs, get into alcohol, get into depression. Like, that's not the answer. It's the easy way. It's the easy route,
Yeah.
but it's the easy way for losing yourself. It's the
Yep.
Oh,
fastest way,
absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. And I think too, I mean, Sam, you could probably speak on this, but even when we were growing up, that was huge. I mean,
Mhm.
luckily never went down that path. Like really,
Mhm.
I tried to stay on a different path. I still
Mhm.
went down, some not so good paths,
That's a
but
good. We
but
all
they
did.
are it became a part of my testimony, and it made me
Mhm.
learn and grow from those experiences. But I think
Exactly.
you're absolutely right. I think it's
Mhm.
been so important to have godly relationships, having
Yep.
relationships with women who can empower you, who can build you up, who aren't
Mhm.
about like the competition and who could do
Exactly.
this better or no, like why
Mhm.
this is a big thing too that I've been talking about recently on the podcast and even with genuine chats. This was the last episode
Mhm.
is about friendships. And I think it's so important for women to build really healthy relationships and
Yes.
friendships and to
Yes.
have that companionship with other women. We need that
We need
because
that.
there is a stigma around
Oh,
having
yeah.
bad relationships and cattiness and drama, and it
Mhm.
doesn't need to be that way. Like why
No.
why do we need to keep putting that out in the world? No, let's show women and show our young daughters that you can have
Mhm.
healthy relationships with women, that you should be
Absolutely.
building other women up and making them
Yep.
feel good about themselves, celebrating them
Yep.
and helping them walk in their purpose because so many
Correct.
women are so lost. And I know
Mhm.
I was one of them. I was
Yep.
so lost for so many years. And from the outside looking in, you're thinking, "Oh, wow, she's got a good job, she's got a family, she's got all
She's
these things."
good.
But no, I wasn't. I was
Mhm.
very lost. I was very hurt and
Exactly.
just had so much going on my heart, on my in my spirit. And now that I'm out of that, now it's like I want to help other women get out of that
Yeah.
because most women are afraid they're afraid to say that they're going through a hard time because
Correct.
again there's all these stigmas there. That's another stigma. Oh,
Yes.
don't talk about mental health or don't talk about not
Mhm.
being in a good situation because you're
Mm-mm.
going to automatically be labeled something,
On a box. Mhm.
right? So yeah, let's end those stigmas like right now. Like we're doing this right now. This is our new little
Right.
friend group. We're building each other up and we want to build all the ladies that are watching. We want to build you up. You could be our
Yes.
friends too. Come be our friends. We
Yes.
want to be friends with
Be our
you.
friends.
Be our
I don't have a
friends.
lot of
Be
friends.
our
Be my
friends.
friend.
Sandra, it has been a pleasure. You and Jen continue. I hope that we have more episodes together. I think there's
Yes.
so much that
Yeah.
we need to talk about and share and
Oh my God,
ending the
yes.
stigma and, making new friends, and it's
Yes.
Exactly.
great. It has been a pleasure, and I'm so happy and thankful that I was able to be on. I love you, girl. You are
Oh,
amazing. I cannot wait to do more episodes with you. I can't wait
yay.
to make new friends, to literally just talk about ending the stigma because it's so huge. And I love women who empower other women. I think that that's what we need to do right now in this day and
Yes.
age. We need to fight for that. Jen, I love
Absolutely.
you, girl. You've been stuck with me for years. You're going to be stuck with me until we're probably gray in a nursing home. Sandra,
Rolling in
I,
our wheelchairs. We already, yeah, we made that pact already.
We're rolling, we're rolling, we're rolling.
but Sandra,
Sandra,
I
you got
love
to join us. We'll have little wheelchair races, when it comes to that time.
But I love you, girl. Sorry, I have to jump off because
You're
talking about
good.
friendships, I have to go to rehearsal dinner for my
Yes.
wedding. So,
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Sam, for joining
Thank
today.
you,
I'm glad you were able to
Sam.
jump on. We love you. We'll see you later.
girls, love you.
Bye.
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 She's
All
so
right.
sweet. Oh,
Isn't she? I love her so
I
much.
love
That's
her.
why
I love her
we've been
already.
best friends for so long. I know we have such a good friendship, and it's just so cool to see where she's come. She's come so
Mm.
far. Like Sam
Whoa.
she hasn't had an easy road, and neither of us have, unfortunately, been through a lot, but we've been there for each other. And that's like, she's one friendship that I can honestly say has been such
Mhm.
an amazing blessing in my life. So
Oh my God. Friendship goals, you guys. That's like
thank
honestly
you.
how me and Debbie are. After like this whole music stuff, we've,
Yeah.
you talking about competition and stuff like that. When we first got into, see each other for the first time, because we had texted each other, commented on each other's stuff. Like we were so excited to meet each other. But once we met each other, we kind of saw our relationships with other people around the circle. And I
Yeah.
saw that she had a good relationship with Chris, but also his wife Liz Rocha. And I was like, kind of like, I'm the new one. They've known each other for years, and I'm just here new. And I'm like, how am I even gonna attempt to get a friendship with them like that? And I
Yeah.
was like, God, like, what am I doing? And for a second, a split second, the enemy tried to get in my head and was like, yeah, you're not good enough. Like, why are you even bothering to be here? Why are you even here? And, you know, when I went to Chicago, actually, a lot of stuff happened going to Chicago. We
Really?
had, yeah, so my husband had to take a different flight because it was a little expensive and we're on a budget. We had just moved to Texas. So he was living on a different flight, and Chris had missed his. So, or they had delayed it. And
Oh,
so it was just
wow.
me and Debbie. So we were going on the airplane and we were talking about, that first time that we met, and she, expressed to me that she felt, very threatened with me because I was a
Oh,
new
wow.
girl. And I was singing, and I was doing high notes and stuff like that. And I looked at her and I was like, dude, I felt the same way towards you.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
if we would have let that moment or that thought of, insecurity, we couldn't we couldn't be where we're at today and have the relationship that we have today. Like, I literally know 100% something can happen to me and I can call her and she'll be here,
Oh,
even with her two kids. And likewise, she knows that whatever she needs, I'm gonna be able to be there for her. But we were
that's
just like
amazing.
laughed about it because we were like, oh my God, you were also thinking this? And I was like, yes, because you're a really good singer too. And I'm here like new, have no friendships, and you're here, all got it together. You
Oh,
know,
my goodness.
it was
But
so bad.
that's why we have to have conversations, though. I think sometimes
Exactly.
we're threatened to have that initial conversation, and
Yes.
it's the same thing if we didn't have an initial conversation, you wouldn't be here right now
I
sharing your
wouldn't.
story, your amazing
I
story.
wouldn't.
And but I think that's what it is like you have to
Mhm.
not be afraid, like get rid of that fear, like just
Yes.
totally push it out of your mind and out of your
Literally.
heart, because man, yes, the enemy can creep in so many different ways, and
So many
that's
ways.
the main way he does it, is making you feel like
Mhm.
you're not good enough, making you
Yes.
feel like you need to compete with someone else, because
Exactly.
yeah, like if you don't do this, oh, what's going to happen with you? No,
Yep.
no, 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 no. No, let's end
No.
that now. Let's
Yep.
have those conversations, because look what happened. You both
Exactly.
were able to relate, and then
Yes.
I'm sure laugh about it and be like, "What is wrong?" Like, no, that
Exactly.
became a
And
great
we sang
friendship.
together in Chicago. It was a whole different experience. Like, we had so much fun singing together. Like, oh my goodness. I was telling her, I was like, we cannot like we promised to each other, we're like, we're never ever gonna let stupid thoughts that the enemy wants to put in our minds stop us from going to the other person and explaining and
Yes.
sharing what we're going through. Because I was like, I would never do anything intentionally to hurt you, you know. And she said the same thing, and I was like, okay, so best friends forever. She's saying best friends forever,
Best friends forever. Oh,
and
that's
that's
amazing.
it, and
I
that's
love
it,
that.
you know.
And it really can be that simple. It's
It
really
can,
just
yes.
all of those thoughts, as women, like again, the enemy creeps in, but then
Exactly.
sometimes it's us too. It's like some of our trauma and our past experiences. We're like, oh, should I really befriend this person? Oh, what do they think
Mm-hmm.
of? Then you're overthinking and overanalyzing. Just don't.
Exactly. Don't.
Just don't even that this is what I had a teaching yesterday in my Women Reignited group, which is like it's like a free
Ooh.
group for all of our members. And Sam and I did a live teaching, and this is exactly what we were talking about. We were talking
Wow.
about ending the stigma and
Mhm.
about, building these amazing friendships.
Exactly.
And a lot of women were saying that they were struggling with maintaining friendships because of
Ooh.
lack of communication. And
Correct.
like we tend to
Mhm.
just sometimes we judge other women because
Mhm.
just based
Right
on what
away.
we see or situations, instead of just going to them and being honest and saying, hey, let's talk. Like, this is how
Yeah.
I'm feeling. How are you feeling? Because
Exactly.
99% of the time, I guarantee, like, that other woman doesn't know that maybe
No.
she did something that might hurt your
No.
feelings, or that she's doing something to, like, you may think that she's ignoring you and she's just so wrapped up and
Exactly.
busy in her life. That's not even the case. So I think
Exactly.
that we just need to end that and just be
Mm-mm.
be brave enough to have the conversations and talk.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah. Oh
Exactly.
man. This
It's
is this
so
is so
good.
good. This is so good. I love this conversation. This is definitely like
Oh, so
going in
good.
a direction that I was hoping it was gonna go in, but even better. It's like even better than I
Yes.
imagined. And we're
Good.
touching on
Good.
passion, and we're touching on all of these amazing things that
Yes.
I think are so important to bring light to. And that's like
Mm.
again the purpose of this episode is not only sharing your
Mm-hmm.
story, but sharing about finding your passion, finding your
Yes.
purpose
Mm-hmm.
and running with it, because
Correct.
it could be scary. Like, I know I've been there. I'm still
Yes.
walking through it. There's a lot of
Me
unknowns.
too.
There's a lot of uncertains. And it's like, Lord, I'm trusting you. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what this is going to look like. I know you're calling me to Texas. I don't know when I'm supposed to go. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm just going
Yes.
to believe and have faith that whatever
Amen.
you have planned is what I'm
It's what
supposed
it
to be
is.
doing. And I'm just going to let it fly.
Exactly.
Which if you knew me
Exactly.
10 years ago, Jen is not a "let's let it fly" type girl. I
Me
was like, "It
either.
needs to be planned. I need to know 6 months in advance or forget it."
Scheduled.
Yes.
Yes.
I got
But
6
like
planners, 20
us
whiteboards.
us women tend to do that. And now that
Yeah.
you brought up like that conversation, like we tend to like, burn bridges when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Since the first beginning of time, we are emotional beings. We're fragile. It says it in the Bible, the man should take care of us because we are fragile, but we're strong. Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes we think being emotional is our downfall. It is not. It's just that
No.
the way we go about it is our downfall. Like we keep it
Right.
all in. Let's not hurt the other person. Oh my god, what's she gonna think about me? I don't know. And you know what? No, no. In this world, ever since the beginning, the problem has always been that we cannot count on each other. You know,
Right.
Eva was by herself and she made a bad decision. And when it
Yeah.
was time to confront God, she blamed it on somebody else. And then,
Mhm.
Adam also blamed it on somebody else. And it's always been my blame and blame and blame and blame and blame. Instead of just,
Right.
hey, yes, I did it. Point.
Right,
I'm
take
so sorry.
responsibility. Right.
Yes.
Own up to what you do. We're
Own
human.
up to
We
what you
make
do.
mistakes. We say things sometimes we don't mean, or we get into our feelings. That's part of being
Exactly.
human. But
Yes.
be able to own up to your mistakes and say, "You know what?
Exactly.
I messed up. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I apologize." And take it that way instead of just
Exactly.
going don't let
And
your
then
ego get the best of
gossiping.
you. Right.
And then
Like,
it will eat you up alive. That's the funny part. Like you're literally
yeah.
gonna be in there feeling bitter, feeling
Right.
bad, angry, and all that you're doing is fuming and giving food to
Mhm.
the enemy, because that's what he
Yeah.
feeds off from: anger, destroying, just,
Yeah, gossiping, the
burning.
negativity,
Yep.
absolutely. He thrives off
So
that.
our society has taught us to do that, to, not confront the person. And when you say confronting a person, it doesn't necessarily need to be negative. When you confront
Right,
someone and talk about something that you've gone through, you can do it in a loving way, like an understanding way. Be like, hey, I've been feeling this type of way, but somehow I feel like maybe you didn't have that intention, so I just wanted to run it by you so we can clear
right.
the air. Period. I said
Exactly.
nothing about you. You said nothing about me. We're just having a
Right.
healthy conversation.
And that, I think, needs to be more of the norm. And don't
Yes.
get me wrong, I've been there before too, where I've tried that approach with certain
Mhm.
women, and because of their trauma, they didn't take it well. Like they immediately want to take it the wrong
Okay.
way. And you can't, there's nothing you can do. Like you
No.
can't change how someone's going to respond, but you can
Mm-mm.
change how you respond.
Correct.
You can be the one to be positive, and if they
Yep.
don't take it well, that's okay. You
That's all.
may
Yeah.
not get an apology. And
No.
I've had to accept that too in the past. You may not get an apology for something
Mhm.
someone did to hurt you, but
Yep.
forgive them, pray for them, and move on.
One.
And
Period.
if it's not meant to be for you to continue that relationship, sometimes that
It's for the
happens. We
better.
grow apart. It may
Yep.
not be meant to be, or that person might need to go through some more healing
Correct.
before you guys might be able to come back together at some point. But
Exactly.
the point is it's like you can respond a certain way. You can
Mhm.
respond positively and
Yes.
lovingly. And that'll change everything for you. That'll change
Everything.
that situation. That'll change your
Oof.
experience in the end. You responding
Mhm.
negatively and it turning into this big fight. What is that? Who does that benefit? Nobody. What does that do?
Literally.
It causes more trauma. Do we need more
Yes.
trauma? No.
No.
Well, I think this has been such an awesome conversation. And now I want to kind of
Yes.
talk about the things that you have like going
Mm.
on. I know, let's touch a little bit on your experience with The Chosen USA, because
Oof.
you kind of went from, realizing that singing is where is like your ministry, we'll say, right?
Yep.
Where you're
Mhm.
supposed to be, what your purpose is right now in this season.
Yep.
So, how did you get to that point? Like, how did you end up on The
Oof.
Chosen? Like, how did that fall into your lap? Because I'm
Oh
sure
my
that's an
god.
interesting story.
It is an extremely interesting story that I still can't believe it happened. So basically, after that whole conversation that I had with my mom and my uncle, you know, side note, my uncle had let me know that that was never going to be able to happen, which I love that. I
Wow.
love that. There's nothing that anyone can say to stop God's calling. And I want all the
Mhm.
ladies in here to hear that, okay?
Yeah.
You can try to run. People can come to you and tell you you're not good enough. God's calling is for a reason, and nobody can mess with that. So, just wanted
Mhm.
to throw that in there. Fast forward to 2 years after that, I worked on my craft, I got better, and I felt into a point where like I was like, okay, it's time to start knocking on doors and see what opens, right?
Yeah.
And we had a big door in Bolivia. We have a cobertura, which is like a covering from a big church over there. And I would go over there and sing. So that's how I knew, like, okay, something is happening with my music, with my career. I see improvement. And I met with some people over there that were producers, and they were, into the music ministry. And I reached out to them, and they gave me good advice. But that's not what I wanted. I what I wanted was a door,
Yeah.
and that was gonna be a big one, or at least I thought it was gonna be a big one. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this advice and apply it in my life, and I did, and I forgot about it. And I remember I've always done really good in school. I go to a private university, so in there things are strict. If you fail one class, they'll put you on probation. Um,
Wow.
so I failed one class, and it was speech. That's something easy to me. I,
Really?
I can talk to people,
Yeah.
I have no issue with that. But since I had a lot going on with school, work, and then I would go to church, I would live and breathe at church, so I didn't really have time. I had just gotten married, so I didn't really have time to finish my assignments on time. And I failed it, and I got really depressed. Like I remember calling my husband, like, I failed it, and I
No.
was just going down. But, thankfully God places people in your life to uplift you, and he did that. He's like, okay, you know what, we'll take this. You're gonna focus on your music, focus on writing again, go on the piano, get in there, and God is gonna open a door for you where you can, get that time that you're waiting to go back to school, because it was like a 6-month period that you had to wait. He's like,
Wow.
in the meantime that you're waiting, go ahead and focus on something else. And I did. And then his mom sent him like a Instagram post from Annie Puello, which is she's a good worshiper. She's so amazing. FYI, everybody, she's amazing. Okay, I love that woman. And he was like, okay, this is your door. It was auditions for The Chosen. And then we look and it says New York. I've always wanted to go to New York, mind you. Ever since I came to the United States, I've always wanted to go to New York. It was a dream of mine to go.
Wow.
And that's how God works. Okay, years ago. This was years and years ago when I was younger. I wanted to go to New York. And my parents, we were never rich. When we were in Cuba, we were not rich. When we came to the United States, we were not rich. And so we were never able to afford going anywhere. My dad would work every single day, every single night in order to provide, and make sure that we were stable enough to get by. And we lived in Miami. So now it's more expensive, but back then it was still expensive to live out there.
Yeah.
So when we saw it was from New York, I was like, how are we gonna go over there and audition? Like, okay, I audition and then what? Like, I don't live over there. And my husband was like, you don't worry. Let's take it one step at a time. If you pass, then perfect. We'll worry about what's next. If you don't, then we come back home. And I was like,
Right.
okay. I was like, okay, sure. We went. We went, me, my mother-in-law, and my husband. I passed the auditions, and like I cried. Like, I have a video that I posted of me crying, hugging him. I was like,
Oh,
I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my
that's
gosh. So
amazing.
it was really special. So they let us know, okay, you're gonna have to come in every weekend to New York because we have practices, we have like
Wow.
pictures, interviews, and all this stuff that we gotta do for The Chosen. And so my husband and I, we were like, okay, we're gonna have to do it because if God let this thing happen, it's for a reason.
Mhm. Yep.
And we were not even thinking about even winning, mind you. We were just thinking like, there's gonna be a door in here designed for me.
Yeah.
Okay, because what's the point of going through an audition, passing, and nothing happened? At least
Right.
as a person, I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna take from this experience, and I'm gonna learn something from it. So we went home and we did that. We went every weekend, every Friday night after I finished work. He would pick me up. We would drive to Miami, 3 hours, no, 2.5 hours. Get on an
Wow.
airplane, go to the stuff on Saturday, and then Sunday morning, the earliest flight, we had to come back because I was a worship leader and he was a drum player, so we have to be back by 9 at our home church to play. And we
Oh
did
my
that for a
goodness.
whole month. All of
Wow.
our expenses were lost in there because it
Oh
was
no.
it was flight, it was hotel, it was food, and
Well,
then
I
it
can
was
imagine how
clothes.
expensive that,
It was so
that would
expensive.
be.
Goodness,
Wow.
like I now don't like I don't even want to live. I used to say, "Oh, I want to live in New York." No, I don't want to live in New York. There's nothing for me in New York. When I went over there, I
Expensive.
didn't really like it,
Really?
but it just comes to show you there was something special going on in New York that was gonna bless my life.
Yeah.
And so once I won The Chosen, mind you, that was something else because you're in a competitive mode. Like, okay, If you're here, you gotta try to at least win. If not, then you did your best. But
Right.
you started to see a shift in people, and that hurt me a lot. I saw the shift in people of like being very competitive and taking it like extremely, extremely serious. Which, hey, yes, you kind of have to. It's a competition, you know?
Right.
But I don't know, for some reason in my mentality, like I didn't think it was gonna get there. Because we were just having fun, and then competition comes. It's 2 days of going back to back to back singing. And it's like, whoa, the transition. So I got to really see like people under pressure.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? I can't do that. Even if they're doing that, I can't do that. I have to keep true to myself. You got to keep smiling. You got to keep going. And me compared to them, I was a nobody. Okay. These people were prepared. These people knew how to work with in-ears. I've never used an in-ears. That was my first time wearing in-ears with them. And they were professionals. The way that they sang was just like incredible. And I was like, I can't compare myself to them.
Yeah.
And when they chose the top 10, I was number 7. And I remember going backstage and I started crying. I went in a little corner. I like literally like got on my knees and I started crying.
Oh,
Nobody came to me except this one person, the person who won second place. And he came up to me. He was like, "Hey, why are you crying? Are you okay?" I was like, "I'm just like not worthy. Like, what am I doing?" And he just turns to me. He's like, "Do you know what number you got chosen right now?" And I was like, "No." I cried like a baby. I was like, "No." And he goes, "You were number 7. That's God's perfect number, girl." He's like, "Wake up.
oh,
You are here for a reason." And he had also mentioned to me once that day before, he's like, "You're winning this thing." And I was like, "Danny,
wow.
stop it. He's such a good singer. He used to be in a boy band, okay? I'm telling you, I was dealing with
Wow.
professionals, people prepared, people that knew what to do. And I was like, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. I was like, I got it, thank you. And so that gave me a little push, and then when we were backstage, one of the girls that was working in the Chosen, she came up to me and was like, "Hey, I have a word from God for you." She's like, you're gonna write prophetic songs, and that's it.
Wow.
And I was like, that's the second time I've ever heard that. The first time I was very lost, and somebody said that to me. This was a guy from Argentina, and he said that to me. But at the time, I didn't know what I was doing with music, So for her to say that again, I was like, okay, I grabbed that word, I receive
Yeah.
it, I have it in my heart. And if you go back to the Chosen and you see the videos when they announce me as a winner, I'm completely lost. I'm as lost as it can be, because the girl goes, "It's you, Jesus," as if Jesus won. And I start laughing. I'm like, ha! 'Cause one thing about me, sometimes I'm too naive. Sometimes I am just so naive that things just fly over my head. And I started laughing like, ha. And they're like, "It's you, Sandra." And I'm like still laughing.
Oh my gosh.
Still thinking like she's
Like, not
joking
realizing
around.
what she just said.
Literally. And then the guy who had told me about the number 7, he turns to me, he shakes me, Danny, and he shakes me, he's like, "You won." And I turn around and I was like, "What?"
Oh
And
my
all
goodness.
you see is me breaking down. Like, so I hug somebody and then I just collapse. I
Oh
just
my
collapsed
goodness.
crying. I was like crying. My dad, which this is not supposed to be done. They've never done this. You're not supposed to do this. No audience can go on stage. My dad ran with the Cuban flag to the stage, because that's one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to represent my country, because there's no
Yeah.
Christian Cuban singers out there. And my mom, this is funny, okay, and embarrassing for her, but for me, it was like so worth it. She hugs my husband. She's like emotional in the audience. and she peed herself.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yes. Like, whole
Wow.
thing.
Oh, my
Because
goodness.
everybody was so nervous. Everybody was so excited. It was
I
like,
could imagine.
like something like this doesn't happen,
Yeah, that's
you
that's
know?
huge. I probably would have
That's
peed myself too if
huge.
I was up there.
So she peed herself. And then she came to the
Oh my
stage
gosh.
running and grabbed me. And, I got to meet Chris Rocha for the first time through FaceTime. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
Wow.
But I still didn't know what was happening. Like, I won the chosen and I go home and I don't go home. I go to the restroom in my hotel and I cried and cried and
Oh.
cried and I showered everything. Like, I washed my hair and I cried and I cried. And then I woke up the next day and like part of me that day when I cried in the bathroom, I felt so bad. I felt like I'm not worthy, God. Like, there was here that whose testimonies were like so amazing and they probably needed it more than me. And then I wake up the next day and it was like God spoke to me like so clearly. He was like, don't question me. Don't question what I
Mm,
do. If I chose you, it was because of your heart and what you had trust in me. That was it. I
yeah.
chose you. Don't question me. And after that, I've never questioned God, and blessings have kept going and going and going, and things that I never thought I would conquer, I've conquered. So that's why I'm telling you, like, once you figure out, okay, this is who I am in Christ, and then once you figure out who He is, who He really is,
Mhm.
you're like, oh God, I got this down pack because He's got you.
Yeah.
Is it scary? Is it hard? Of course it is. Everyone in the Bible went through something. Paul went through a lot.
Yeah.
Godly, like Paul. Who was Paul? Who was Paul? Okay. And then turns it all around and makes
Right?
the church be in order. And thanks to
Mhm.
him is how we operate at church nowadays
Right.
after years. Who he would he ever thought it was going to be this big? Of course not.
No.
But he trusted in God and did what God wanted him to do, and he got blessed for it. And I'm sure he's happy in heaven,
Mhm.
rejoicing, seeing us talk now and
Absolutely.
mentioning him. Hey Paul, hope you're
How you
doing
doing,
great out
Paul?
there. But
Oh
that's
my
what it's all
goodness.
about, trusting God and
Right.
not questioning him. If we question him, then that's when everything goes wrong because then you're operating on your own flesh and that's not how
Right.
we should be operating.
Right. Exactly. And we
Yeah.
could block our blessings doing that as
Yes.
well.
Oh yeah.
You could block your blessings. And
Mhm.
I that's just such a beautiful story because I love when God speaks, and he
Yeah.
speaks to everyone differently. It's not going to be the
Oh yeah.
same for me as it is for you or vice versa, whatever. But when he speaks, listen,
Oh
like
yes.
just listen, listen.
Oh.
And I know he's like I've gone through the same thing even with Live Reignited. I've questioned God so many times like, "Are
Mhm.
you sure you picked the right one,
Mhm.
Lord?" Like, I'm an introvert. I don't put myself out there often. Like, "Are you sure I'm the
Literally.
right one?" And he's like, "Yes." Like,
Yes.
he said the same thing, "Stop questioning me.
Yeah.
Yes, I chose you. It's always been you.
Literally.
That's it."
There's no
So,
question about it.
and I'm like, "Okay, Lord.
Oh my God. It's okay.
I'm gonna stop questioning you now."
And look at you now. Like, look at this whole podcast is so pretty. Like, aside from
Thank
being so
you.
pretty, has such a good message. Like I've said before, I love this. And I usually do podcasts with other people, but um it's different, like when you're told, okay, you got to be on this podcast, then you know what? I want to be on this podcast. And
Oh,
I
thank you.
want to be on this podcast. Like this was so good. Just talking to both of you guys and then knowing you, Jen, like, oh God, Sherry on top, blink. Like, okay, God, okay, okay, I see it. Okay, stop. I got it. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. It's funny too because I just knew in my heart, like, and I don't get this often. Like, I just don't. I don't have a big circle of friends or anything, but I really just felt in my heart, like, God bringing us not only for the
Yeah.
podcast, but as like a beautiful friendship was gonna
Yes.
blossom out of it. And I
Yes.
just had this feeling in my heart. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm trusting you. There's been a few women that God has put in my path recently, and
Mhm.
it's like I just know that it's not just for it may be for a podcast episode or for spreading
Mhm.
their stories and their truth and all of that, but I don't know, there's just something different. It's something
Mhm.
different. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like a business transaction, like, it feels
Exactly.
like there's something bigger, there's a partnership there,
Exactly. A
and that's
partnership.
a
That's a good
beautiful
wording.
thing. Yeah, it's
I
like
know.
and that's a beautiful thing, and I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed that
Oh,
I can call you my new friend and
I
that
know.
you're I know,
Same.
I'm just like it makes me very emotional because again, I have a very small circle of friends,
I
and,
get you.
I just see God just building that group with just, some
Literally.
amazing godly women, and it just makes, like, my heart
Oh my
happy, you
god.
know?
I can't wait for you to like meet Debbie. Like,
Oh, I would love to meet Debbie. You
dude, I
know
talked to her about you, okay?
really?
Of
Well,
course I
I was
did.
invited recently, and I was like, "Oh, thanks, Debbie, woohoo!" Like, I was all
Yes.
excited.
I told her, I was like, "Oh my god, Debbie, like, you have no idea. Like, this is someone who watched us at our concert, you know? And and again, like, you are literally it why we do what we do. Like, imagine all the other connections we can make through music. Like, that is just so profound. It's so profound what God does." And then I was telling her, I was like,
Right.
it's insane. Like, she literally met us at a concert and she reached out to me to do a podcast with me. And I was like, yes, I love your story. I love what you guys are doing. I was like, get me in there. I want a little taste of this, you
Well,
know?
it's amazing what God does too, because
Mhm.
I think I shared just a very small part of that, but how I even ended up at that concert is just insane because I don't go
Insane.
anywhere. I don't go to concerts, and I just happened to um like get invited at a
Literally.
last minute
Last minute.
to the very last literally there was an hour before the concert started, and I got invited, and I didn't know any of the artists. Like I had heard some of the songs from 'cause I know, Barack was, like, the main, the
Thing.
main
Uh-huh.
event, we'll say, the main
Exactly.
artist, and I heard a few songs, and I was like, "Oh, this beautiful, yeah, I'll go,
Exactly.
I'm totally up to going," and I almost didn't go because I'm like, "Oh, I arrangements for my kids, I gotta get everything squared away," but by the grace of God, I ended up there on time,
Yes.
believe it or not, which was insane.
Whoa.
And then I was just, like, so blown away, like, because I have a very musical background, like, music has always been my first love,
Yes.
like, my first passion. I've been singing since I was a little girl as well. So,
Wow.
I worship through music. It's such a big
Wow.
part of my life, and God knows that. So, I anytime I can come across, like, a new artist or new music
Yes.
or whatever, I'm all for it. But it was just the feeling, like, God was telling me and here's the crazy thing too. Leading up to that concert, I kept getting the number 418, 418, and I'm like,
What?
"Yes," and I was like, "What is 418, 418?" So I'm like, "Okay, Lord, is this a scripture you're
Wow.
trying to?" Because a lot of times God speaks he
Correct.
speaks so many different ways, and
Yes.
sometimes
Mhm.
he'll throw scripture at me,
Yes.
and I'm like but I didn't feel like it was a scripture. I'm like, "What is
Yeah.
okay, 418, 418," and then I just kinda let it go. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Oh
Okay,
my
whatever."
god.
And then I went there and it like that was the first thing, it was like
Yes,
418 records,
14.
and I'm like, I'm like, "Oh my god, like, that's what that
Wow.
is." And then I saw you ladies perform too, and I was like I just felt like a connection with the
Oh,
songs, and I was like I just felt God telling me, like, "Something's be ready." He just kept telling me,
yes.
"Get ready. Something's gonna happen." And
Wow.
there's gonna be something here. But he wasn't like he was literally giving me little tiny, tiny
Hints,
snippets, so
yeah.
I didn't know what that was gonna look like. But I was like, "Okay, Lord, okay, I'm just gonna
I
let it
do it.
be." And ironically, how my life played out, because I hadn't even started Live Reignited at that point.
Wow.
And I knew
So
about Live
crazy.
Reignited, but I knew it wasn't time to start it yet. And then when God told me, "Go, go," I literally dropped everything. I dropped my
Wow.
career. I just was obedient because I know how
That's
he's
good.
moved in my life, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "I'm trusting you."
Yep.
My poor husband too, thank God, he's just been so amazing because I told him, I'm like, God said this and this is what I'm doing. And he's like,
Yep. Let's
okay.
go.
He's like,
Yep.
all right, I support you. I got your back. Let's do this. And I'm like, oh, thank you, God. Like, thank you for
I know.
allowing me to have such an amazing man by my side,
Yes.
because I'm sure any other husband would have been like, wait a minute, you're quitting your career
Yes.
where you make a very good living
Good name
and you
off
help
of.
me support our family. And
Thank God for our
yeah,
husbands. Oh my God.
just shout out to our hubbies because
Yes.
they're amazing men. They
They're
really are.
amazing.
My husband,
Chosen by
hopefully
God.
one day you can meet my husband, and hopefully
Yes.
vice versa.
Me
He's such an
too.
amazing man. He's had a hard time in his life too, and
Wow.
he's come, he's on a new, very new, fresh walk with God.
Yes.
So he's still learning and growing, and I'm very patient with that. And
It's so good
but
though. It's so good because
he's
he's
yeah.
in it. At least he's in it, you know?
He is, and I give him props because, man, there's times
Yeah.
where I'm like, "This is what God's telling me," and you could think I'm crazy all you want,
But
but this is what I'm doing, and,
literally
he doesn't question me, he really doesn't. He's never
good.
questioned it. He's like, "Okay, all right, let's do it." But, I mean, it's just amazing what my point is, like, what God does and how he
Yes.
and then it's, like, months later, who would have thunk it? God told me, he's like, "It's go time. It's go
Wow.
time. It's reach out." And I'm like, I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to do. And he's like, why are you questioning me? I'm telling you, just do it. I'm like, okay.
Literally. Oh.
And bam, like, I mean, now here we are. And it's just
Here we
amazing.
are.
It's amazing to go back so many months and to now see how far.
Literally. Oh,
And God was
so
like
good.
telling me, he was preparing me this whole entire time. And it's just so cool
My
to say, like,
goodness.
God was telling me I knew something was up. And
Literally.
but he doesn't
You even
he gives me bits and pieces. He knows he's gotta give me something because 'cause I'm very
yes.
impatient, and he's very patient with me because a lot of times I'm like, "Can you just tell me
The whole thing.
what is it? What is it, God? Like, what is it?" And he's like,
Yes.
I'll give you a little tiny taste, and then you have to be patient." And
Yes.
it helps me because I'm like,
Of
"Okay,
course.
that's good enough for me for right now." I'm gonna wanna know
Exactly.
more in a few weeks, but
Exactly. But it's like
Mm.
you said, you see what he does, like, he gives you little bits and pieces, but he also is like, "Okay, you gotta wait now, because this is the
Right.
area that I wanna make you stronger at." That's the same in for me. I'm very impatient. I gotta know, and I gotta know.
Mhm.
But when I figured out, I was like, "You know what? Might as well just wait for him." Because then I'm just like doing all this extra stuff. I get tired. I get
Yeah,
emotional for no reason when he can just tell me when it's
right.
time, and it's
Exactly.
just perfect.
And you could drive yourself crazy. I do it sometimes too.
I
Like, I
do
try
it.
to
I know.
overanalyze it, and I'm like, "What are you showing me, God?" And I
My planner is like going crazy with me right now because I'm just planning so many stuff. And it's like one thing, it's like God tells one thing, and then it's like, then the other thing is coming along. And then I'm like, okay, hold on. No, we got to chill out. Let
Yep.
God take the wheel.
I know. I know. I'm still the Lord is so patient with me because I'm still working on that. I'm very
I
impatient
know.
myself, and I have my journal. Like, I get a lot of, like, I consider myself prophetic, thanks to the Lord. He gives me dreams, visions. I'm a seer.
I
I'm very
know.
visual. So, he gives me dreams, visions, like, girl, there's been times where he'll tell me, "Pull out your journal." And I'm like, "Okay." And I open the journal, and then all of these things just start getting deposited, and I start writing. And sometimes I can't even write as fast as they're coming. But that's what happened,
It's
like,
so cool.
it happens usually every 6 months. So, like, last year that happened, and I have, like, 5 pages of everything that God showed me. It had Live Reignited in there. It had
Jesus.
what I was gonna be doing, like, how big it was gonna be, all of the areas that there was gonna be a podcast, like, and this was a year ago. And
Wow.
I I just waited. I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna wait on you, God." But there's so many other things he gave me as well, even, and I don't
Yes.
know when they're gonna happen, but I have it written down. I have it dated. And
Wow.
that's another thing I love to encourage women to do, is to journal,
Yes.
especially when God speaks, because, man, I'm sure there's so many times throughout the years that God spoke to me
Oh,
and I didn't
yeah.
write it down. And I
Mhm.
couldn't look back at it and say, wow,
Yeah.
look how cool that is,
Mhm.
But now I do it, and I'm so glad I do, because I could look back and
Correct.
say, on this date at this time, God
Mhm.
gave me this word. And now a year later, all of it
It's
has
coming
come to
alive.
fruition. Right.
Ooh.
So,
Oh, that's so good. That's so profound. And actually adding
so
on to
cool.
that, when you said, when God speaks, like ladies out there, like sometimes maybe you might think it's not God, maybe it's just your own thoughts. Even when you think it's just your own thoughts, journal them down because
Yeah.
most likely it was God. And sometimes we just like to dismiss that voice, or we're not used to hearing that voice, and we think it's our own consciousness and our own
Mhm.
minds and thoughts working. Write it down. That's something that I had to learn how to do. I journal as well, especially about songs, and it started like that. I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, Sandra, why are you like overthinking things? Like, where is all this stuff coming from? Like, slow down. And since I'm very impatient, I thought that was me, but it wasn't, because I exactly did what Jen was doing. I started journaling, and then I was thinking, I went back to the Bible. And
Mhm.
when I write songs, I like to make sure that everything is aligned to the word of God. And I was
Right.
like, I couldn't have come up with this. I was like, I know I couldn't have come up with this. Is that you, God? And then my relationship with God, I started praying and praying, and it got better. And I started realizing God has been speaking to me for so long,
This whole time, and
this whole time.
this whole, isn't it crazy? And when
Oh,
you develop and you build that relationship,
mhm.
you're able to distinguish his voice. Like, it sounds a
Exactly.
little crazy, but for me, like, his voice is so clear. I
Mhm.
know the tone, I know the sound, I know it's so different
Different. It's different.
than me speaking to, like,
Correct.
or it's my thoughts or my subconscious or whatever. But
Mhm.
that's why it's so important to have that strong relationship.
Relationship.
And so I prayed. I was obedient. I did what God asked me to do.
Uh-huh.
And it turns out, yeah, they were these specific pastors. I didn't know them. I
Wow.
don't even know if they were in my state. I think they were in a different state. But they were going through something. And I was one of those that God used to pray for them and help
Whoa,
them.
that's so good,
And who
Jen.
knows how many other
I
people,
know.
like, it's just amazing, the power of prayer.
Oh,
How I know we're going on a tangent here, and we're talking, but this is so good. I don't wanna
so
stop. Like,
good. No, don't stop. Don't
it's
stop.
like the power of prayer is just amazing, and you have no idea, especially, I mean, even a lot of times I'm praying for people that aren't even Christian, like,
Oh.
it's just whoever God puts at my heart.
Mm.
Man, it's just a beautiful thing. But prayer
It
is
is.
it's so powerful, and people don't realize that.
No. And it
They
can
really
happen
don't.
like this. I
Yes.
just had a testimony. One of the girls from our worship team, so on Sunday, there was a breakthrough at our church, CLC church, you know, just mentioning them. But we've been going through a transition, especially with worship. And when I was leading on Sunday, I kept telling them, start speaking in tongues. And these people are not used to that. So me being Hispanic, barely knowing how to speak the language, okay, I'm here telling them, start speaking in tongues. Everybody, like a lot of people came on the front, and I was like, this is how you fight your battles in prayer. This is how you
Yes.
win your battles in prayer. There's nothing more effective than prayer. There's
Right.
nothing. There really hasn't been anything else that I've seen that works like that. And then one of the girls from the worship team, she was talking to us because yesterday was practice, and she goes, so yesterday in our women's group, they talked about, putting somebody on prayer, and I put my husband, and she was talking about how he wanted to let go of his work because he's in a different state working. And that's like hard, for a family, that's
Yeah.
hard. And 24 hours didn't pass by, and she got a call from him letting her know that he was coming home for good and that
Oh
he
my
was going to
goodness.
start church. I'm like, oh my God,
Wow.
24 hours. How effective. But when you pray,
Amazing.
you can't just be praying like, oh, dear Lord, da 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 da. No,
Right.
you gotta fully be in it. You gotta believe what you're saying. You gotta ask specific things. Like, don't just ask to ask. If you know
Right.
you have the God of miracles, the God who is the shame breaker, the
Mhm.
Almighty on your side, ask something that you know you need. And
Right.
specifically, don't be floating around like. And that used to be my downfall a lot. Like, God, I know I'm not good enough and maybe this doesn't happen, but I would really want it to happen. What are you doing? Like, that's gonna be ineffective. He's not even gonna be able to hear
Right.
that. You're gonna be like,
Right.
God, I know you can do this. And this is why I'm praying for you because I know my relationship with you is strong enough that you can hear me right this second. I need this, and
Right.
this. Period.
Right. Pray with confidence, pray with passion
With
because those other prayers,
passion.
like you said, they're going to hit the ceiling and fall back down to the floor.
Not
They're not
effective.
even going to get they're not going to get to him. So, but yeah, that's a big thing. Praying with passion,
Mhm.
I know we're talking about passion and purpose, but that's another thing. Praying with
Yes.
passion and being confident and I know not everyone has the gift of tongues. It's just a matter of activating it. But
Exactly.
if you know how to speak in tongues, how to pray in tongues, utilize that
Use
because
that.
that is so
Better.
powerful. I just feel it's even
Mm.
more powerful than if we're
Yes.
just,
Like,
speaking like, "Hey God, I
yeah,
want to
here
pray
I
for
am.
this."
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Exactly. It's so important. And going back to what you said about passion and about purpose. So
yeah.
that's so important. Like, everything comes back to that relationship with God. If you have a
Yes.
good relationship with God, you're going to find your purpose, you're going to find your calling and everything that you need to do
Right.
in order to fulfill your purpose. So, you know, for me, I had to go around and around and around until it was revealed to me because I let it happen. It's always going to be a
Mhm.
choice. God gave us free will. For a reason, because he wanted us to choose him above
Right.
everything else. He wanted a relationship. So you want to find your passion, you want to find your purpose and your calling, you want to speak in tongues, you want to have
Mhm.
gifts. Okay, go and sacrifice your flesh. Go
Yeah.
in prayer. I literally, how can you not? When I got the gift of tongues, was we did at my church. We did a prayer night for 3 days. Fridays, no, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I spent 2 days in the center in the church praying and praying. And you know what? I know in my heart that if I kept on praying, I wasn't gonna get the gift. It wasn't until I was so fed up. I was so
Yeah.
fed up. I was like, what am I doing? I was like, God, I am not leaving this place until I get my blessing. I'm not leaving this place until I get the gift of tongues. Because I know that is the place where I'm gonna be able to talk to you when
Yeah.
nobody understands what I'm saying.
Mhm.
When you and I can talk about so many different things and I don't have to limit myself,
Yeah.
because of others or because of what's going on, you know.
Right.
And he did it like that. It was
Ooh,
like as soon as he heard that, he's like, "Oh, child, okay, I got you."
okay, here you go.
Whoosh. And it was like, ba-da-da-da-da-da. It was like non-going, and I was just so blessed. But I had to
It's
tap
amazing.
into it. We have to be aggressive,
Right.
in the Bible it says it. The heavens suffer from that. We need to be more
Mhm.
violent. We need to capture our blessings like right away. Don't let it
Yeah.
linger too long, because if it lingers too long, then you're opening a door for the enemy to go in and be like,
Right.
you're not worthy. Again, the same lies that he keeps on telling us over and over again. I don't understand.
Mhm.
Sometimes our like humans surprise me. I surprise myself because I'm like, I can be dumb sometimes. Like, I literally believe his lies over and over again. And when something horrible happens, I go back to the same thoughts. And I'm like, dude, we've been over this. Like, this is not who
Yeah.
you are. This is not what God called us to be, And for you to find your purpose, you got to have a relationship with God. That's the
Yeah.
foundation. That's how you build it. I mean, I don't know, you could be, let's say, a Christian and be like, yeah, I'm gonna be a singer. That's my purpose. Maybe that's what you want,
Right.
but maybe that's not what God wants. And then if that's not what God wants, then that's not your purpose. That's
Right.
just not it. things we need. I feel like society is like very like white, gray, and then black, where it should be black and white.
Yeah.
There's no
Right.
in between with
Exactly.
God.
No.
There's no in between with God.
No, there's no gray areas.
No,
There's no
there's no
gray
gray.
area. And he's very, I mean, when you're in a relationship, there's no confusion. But no, that's a really good point though. It is. You have to have that relationship.
Yeah.
Because even for me, like I was so lost so many years. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I built my career for I thought that's what I was supposed to do,
Correct.
but I just felt something was missing. I'm like, I wasn't fulfilled. And my poor husband was like, what's going on? Like, you worked so hard to get here. I'm like, I know, but this isn't,
It.
something's not off.
Yeah.
This isn't it. I know it's not it. I just feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been incredible, like having that strong relationship with God, because I didn't have that my whole life,
Exactly.
but throughout the years it got stronger. And once I was saved, I got my gift of tongues when I was
Wow.
delivered. The night I was delivered, the night God saved me.
What? Oh,
That's when I got my
dude.
gift. Man, I that is an incredible story. When I was delivered, I had an attachment.
Oh,
And man, it was incredible. But that's when I got my gift of tongues. I
wow.
gave it all to God. I was so at my breaking point at that point, because
Oh,
I was having so many issues, thoughts that weren't my own. I know some people that may be watching may already know my testimony, but man, it's I can't even put into words. It was such
oh
a
man.
beautiful experience. And I just started going in tongues. Like it just came out. It was the most beautiful experience.
Oh, so
Um,
good.
I was rid from that attachment. I was delivered. And that was by the grace of God. He did that. I was in
Yeah.
my basement. I was actually here in
Oh
this
my
exact spot
god.
on the floor when that happened. And now,
Oh,
how, several years later, here I am. It's just, it's beautiful. And
on your
now I
calling.
can. It's my calling, and it's just so beautiful what he can do.
Ah,
Doesn't matter where
yes.
you're at or how low you are or
Nope.
your experiences. He
Nope.
can save you from that.
Yep.
You can still end up walking in your purpose.
Exactly. Yeah, there's some people that have never experienced, or they're even experiencing it right now. Like they just started their gift right now. And you
Yeah.
talking about, how it's going now for you, maybe that would shed some light into their situation and hope, because
Yeah.
man, it's a big gift that you're gonna have to carry now, and do it, because that's why God gave it to you. But also you're also human, so
Right.
it's gonna drain you, of course. But man, I hear those stories and I'm like, dang, dang, God, I have one request,
Well, I
out
will
of
tell
all
you.
the requests.
I will tell you, just having the conversation and what I hear God speaking is that he's easing you into it. It's like
Yes,
he's showing me, like, slowly easing, 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 because
I
from what
receive.
I'm getting, and this is just what I'm getting out of it, is that if he gives it to you all at once, it's gonna be overwhelming,
Yeah,
and then you're
good.
not gonna want it? So it's about easing you into it. See me, I've been eased into it since I was a kid.
I
So
know.
I've experienced it since I was a little girl, and he had to ease me into it over the course of my life. Now I'm 35 years old, and now I'm finally to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
I know how I'm prepared. I know what to do with it.
I
So,
can't wait. I received that
yeah,
word, Jen. I receive.
take it,
That's
take
mine. That's mine.
it.
If you said it, it shall be, God. It
Yep,
shall be. No, I receive
he's
it. I
easing
I
you.
receive it. Obviously, like the time where I asked for it, I'm 100% confident to say that it is true what God had said. I was not ready for that. I didn't go through the things that I have gone through now, and I still feel like there's still a lot of road that I'm gonna have to step into, because this is just the beginning. Like now, I'm seeing this side, which is the musical industry side, which is hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like a lot of people like me, since I was a child, I didn't want to be a singer. I never want to be a singer, but I've always wanted to be a performer, doing
Yeah.
dramas or being a dancer. And I like, if I just had one chance and then now I have the chance, and I'm like, woo, it's a lot. It is
Yeah.
so much. It is so much. Like right now, I work overnights at Amazon, and I work at the church that I go to. And man, it's hard. Man, it's hard work, sacrifice. But
Yeah.
the good thing, that keeps me going, and I encourage everyone, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling down, like you can't do it anymore, just remember, always remember that the greater the sacrifice, the greater the blessing it's going to be. You're going
Absolutely.
to sacrifice a lot? Okay. You're going to get 10 times more than what you sacrifice.
Yeah.
In the Bible is there evidence. If you have ever any questions or any doubt in your mind of what's God showing you and what is going through your life, go to the Bible. You have
Yeah.
David, you have Paul, you have all these amazing people like Joseph, you have Mary. They've all witnessed and got through hard
Yeah.
times. Like their times were worse than ours.
Oh, yeah.
We have it easy.
Mhm. We
We
really
have it
do.
easy.
We
They
really
were
do.
literally killing Christians. Like there was no
Yeah.
tomorrow. They were, making and breaking families just because you declare yourself a Christian. Like nowadays you declare yourself Christian, and yeah, you might not be like completely safe because there might be people that hate Christians, and
Right.
they can harm you, but it's not the same. It is
Right.
not the same. And they still chose Christ above anything.
Mhm.
You have Noah. Everybody criticized him. You know what it
Oh,
is to
yeah.
make the whole boat or the whole
Right.
ship out of wood, telling people, hey, this is going to happen. If you don't get in
Yeah.
here, you're going to die. And a lot of people thought of him crazy,
Yeah, they
you
thought he
know?
was nuts.
Exactly. And poor family, imagine your husband telling you this great phenomenon, and you're like,
Yeah.
honey, are you sure about this? Because
Right,
that's the
and just
thing.
having to trust, yeah.
Back then, we didn't have Jesus that now we can talk to God. Back then, it was
Right.
specific people who got to speak to God, you
Yeah.
know? So people were like, you're nuts, man. Like, you're nuts. You're crazy. And he
Right.
still did it. He still built it. And we got now a rainbow, a beautiful rainbow
Mhm.
that it's a reminder of that, of the trusting God every time,
Yes.
above else, trusting God. Trusting God. That's it. That's all it. Every part
Yeah.
in the Bible, every person that has had an input in the Bible has gone through something. Esther, oh my God, Esther.
Yes.
My goodness, I love her story.
I do
Ladies,
too.
please, if you have not read Esther, you should. Esther was a Christian, and
Mhm.
she got married to a king who's not Christian, who was not, had people around him telling him, you don't even allow them to live. Like,
Yeah.
you should just kill them. And Asher married the king and made him see the
Yeah.
truth, because that's the thing. The devil will disguise the truth to make you believe, oh, yeah, these people are horrible. These people are just making everything
Right.
worse. We should just do whatever we want. We're the kings.
Right.
We have authority, you know? But it's
Mhm.
not like that. These were people of God, if anything, you know? And
Right.
Esther made him see the reality, and she's known for that. She's known for how courageous and brave, but
Yeah.
also like peaceful and charming she was, because that's how she got to the king. How nice
Right.
and gentle and sincere she was. She didn't come to him yelling at him, no, you better do this and that.
Right.
Ladies, especially if you're married or in a relationship,
Mhm.
okay, it's both ways. Men also
Right.
suffer, men also go through
Yeah.
things, and it's our job to edify our homes so it doesn't crumble
Yes.
down. It says a wise woman, what does she do? She tries to make sure everything is run by God. Be like, okay, God, I just pray over my
Mhm.
husband. I know it's hard times. I know he doesn't want to listen to me, or what I have to say, but maybe God, you're
Right.
talking and doing something in him that I have not yet seen, you know?
Exactly.
And God will use your husband or your partner to mold your character.
It's
So
true.
they could be a blessing for your life, you know?
Seriously. I mean, I know for my husband too. Throughout the years, we got together very young. And
Same.
I wouldn't be the woman that I am today without my
Mhm.
husband and the things that we went through, and good and bad, because
Exactly.
I mean, granted, I still need some work on patience, but I've
But
come a long way. I've come a long way. We'll just say that. I've come a long
both
way. And
ways. Both
God
ways.
speaks through my husband sometimes, so he don't even realize it. But he does.
Exactly.
There's times where he'll speak, or I'll get a text message and it'll be like,
The perfect
that was
thing.
right on time. And I don't even think you knew that,
See?
So,
They don't. That's the
man,
thing. They
they
don't.
don't. They don't even realize. They don't
But
even
God
realize
used
it.
them so much because I've seen the
Yeah.
same thing over my life too. Like there'll be times, especially when I went through the chosen, I doubted myself a lot. And it got to the point where, Joel has had to shake me up and be like, yo, this is not a competition no more. Like, you got this. You don't got to prove nothing to nobody.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. You made it. You did your hardest. You can just
Mhm.
focus on writing music for God. And yeah, sometimes you're not going to be great, but who cares? The one who you
Right.
should be carrying is God.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, you are so right. Thank you,
Listen to
Jesus. I'm like,
you.
you did your
Okay.
thing. I know. I'm like, I pat him like, good baby. Like, I'm proud. I'm proud.
And
That
he
I
doesn't
don't
even
think they
realize it. He's
no,
just
they don't give themselves enough credit.
no.
So that's why I'm saying, like, ladies, be careful because they also go through stuff. Remember, they have to
Yeah,
be the
they
head of
do.
a household. They have a
Yeah.
lot of weight on them, even though they might not show that they're going through it. Like we do, like we're, as again, I say it, we're emotional and we can be
Mhm.
fragile sometimes and get our emotions get the best of us. But for them, showing emotion is weakness.
Right.
It shows like cowardness, if anything. But God, what God intended for us is to be vulnerable, to be vulnerable. Look at me how I am. Just like at the beginning of times, they were naked. They
Yeah.
saw exactly themselves how they were. They had all their flaws out there. They had
Yeah.
their flesh out there. So, for men, it's hard. The society that we live on, since
Yeah.
a long time ago, too, like men were not able to express themselves. I feel like nowadays the roles have switched. Like women are more tougher and are
Yeah,
more
for
firm,
sure.
and the men are like, okay, like let her handle it.
Uh-huh.
But it's okay. Like some men are meant for other things, and
Right.
some women are meant for hard jobs,
It's true.
and that's okay. I'm a big believer of that. We were created in the image of God, and if God
Yes.
is able to do all these great things, so can we. Apart from gender, apart from you
Right.
being the guy and you being the girl, we both have two roles that we need to do in
Right.
order to have our whole household, filled with the Holy Spirit, filled with God in it.
Mhm.
Um, so that's our best asset is the prayer.
Yeah.
Women, when we pray, we are warriors. We get this like massive urge of protectiveness. Like our
Yeah.
motherhood comes out. And I'm not even a mother, but I get like that. Oh my lord. Like when something goes wrong or I sense in the spirit that something is happening with my
Mhm.
husband or anything like that, I'm like, oh child. I'm like, enemy, I'm coming for you. I got you.
Mhm.
So like that's very important that we keep always in prayer, like our husbands, and
Yes.
I don't know why we're even talking about it, but since
This
I was
is where
talking about
God wants us to go,
Esther,
girl, so this is where we're going.
exactly. Since we're talking
But
about
no, that is
Esther, that's why I
yeah.
threw it in there.
But it is so important to
Yeah.
even if you're not married, like, pray for
Yeah.
your significant
Partner.
other, your boyfriend or whatever. But it's so important if you are married, especially, to pray for your husband,
Mhm.
because he's not gonna pray for himself. I'm gonna tell you that
Nope.
right now. He's not gonna pray for himself. So you need to pray for him. And man, I'll tell you, the prayers that sometimes you don't see the prayers happening right away. Like, you don't see the effect of the prayers right away, But man, when you do start to see them, for me, like I'm finally seeing them like all at
I
once, and I'm like,
know.
Lord, like I used to say, Lord, I'm not seeing what's happening. I'm not
I
seeing anything. And
know.
he's like, just be patient.
Yeah.
Just be patient. I'm working on it. You need to, because he would tell me sometimes, because I would, I'd be on my husband sometimes.
I know. That makes me
I
like
speak
tear
my
up a little
mind.
bit.
I'm like quick to react sometimes. And
I know.
let me tell you, like over the past year, with my husband being away, God has really taught me how to be patient.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story too. I'll share another day.
Oh,
But let me just tell you that my husband leaving was God. And I
oh,
fought it. I fought him because I fought God. I'm like, how can you do this? You're splitting up my family for a year. My husband has just been gone all this time. He just got home. He was only home a couple weeks when I found out he was going to be deployed for a year.
oh
And
my
I
God.
was not having it. I was having a pity party and I was feeling some type of way. And there was so many reasons my husband shouldn't have gone, but
Oh.
he still ended up going. And then
Mhm.
I finally came to the realization after I got out of my little pity party and I was in
Mhm.
prayer, and God told me, I need to make this happen. This has to happen. This is happening for a
Yeah.
reason. He's going, and I need you to accept it, because
Mhm.
this is going to change your relationship in a good
Yes.
way. And at first I was really like, I don't think
Oh.
so. I think how is this going to make my relationship better? Like we haven't seen
Mhm.
each other. He's like, no, trust me. I'm going to work on him and I'm going to
Correct.
work on you, because you both need some healing. You
Mhm.
both need you both need certain things, and
Yeah.
you can't be together at that time
Mm.
while it's happening. I need you separate
Oh,
so you both can see and not only grow and heal, but that we can miss each other
yes.
and appreciate
Oh,
one another. Because
he's
sometimes
so cute.
when you live together and you're married, you see each other every day.
Every
Sometimes it
day.
gets hard. It's like, man, everything you do is aggravating me. Did you have to be so
To
loud
this
when you're
or
walking down
this
the
my
hallway?
way.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
I know you here.
yeah, can you be a little quieter? Like, do you have to snore? Like
Oh my
every
God, yes.
like I used to tell my husband,
Ah,
I would wake him up, he'd be snoring. I'm like, I'd push him. I'm like,
stop.
hey, can you?
Stop.
I can't sleep. He's like,
Literally.
sorry, I didn't know I was snoring. He goes, I don't snore. I'm like, yeah, you do.
The Jew.
Yeah, you snore really
Same as
loud.
my husband.
He's like,
Same
no,
as
I
my
don't
husband.
snore. I'm like, I'm gonna
He
record
says
you. I'm telling you.
he says that I snore, but like I snore when I'm like extremely tired and I knock out. I sometimes snore, but it's not even like if you see the videos, it's like
It's really quiet.
yeah, it's really quiet. I'm like, dude, you cannot compare yourself to
And
me, you know?
yeah, because my husband, man, he could saw some logs. He's loud.
Dude,
Like he could
he's
be
loud
really loud.
too.
I'm sorry, boo. I'm calling you out. I love you. But
Good.
you snore loud.
Yes,
Why?
mine
Anyway,
too. Hmm.
but
Put you out
I
there.
mean, all jokes aside, pray for your husband because he needs
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Whether he's a snorer or not a snorer, it doesn't matter. You got to pray for him. But
Yep.
touching on the topic of Esther, like I actually, if you go on the Live Reignited website, we have under faith,
Mhm.
there's a whole Bible study on the women of the Bible, and it
Yes.
talks about Esther, and it gives you all the scriptures to reference.
Good.
So if you're looking for a new Bible study, and that's always my favorite, is the women of the
Mine
Bible,
too.
because they're so significant. They've done such
Yes.
amazing things, and their relationship with the Lord is just amazing. So
So cool.
I put together that Bible study, and there's a reflection worksheet in there too. Um, but definitely use it, utilize it, print it out. You can use it however you
Yes.
want, but I highly recommend it, because that's if
It's
you're not
so
familiar with a lot
powerful.
of the women of the Bible, definitely do that Bible study.
They're whole badass. That's the thing about
They
them.
are.
Those ladies at those times, like I picture those hard times back then, and I'm like, how are they doing this? Like, who's
Right?
allowing this stuff to happen? Because these ladies like really stepped out of their zone
They did.
and made a difference. Like I don't remember who was it, but was it Ruth that her husband died and or her son died. Ugh, I don't remember her name, but her husband dies and basically his mother is like, "Hey, I'm just going to stay here." You know, basically
Mhm.
herself by herself, okay? And this girl had a choice to leave to a whole new place and start new, maybe find a husband or stay there with her mother-in-law, because at the end of the day, that's all they had. They had each other,
Yeah.
you know? And after losing your husband, the first thing that you want to do is like, you know what? I gotta start fresh. Like that's the mentality that, a lot of
Yeah.
people might think. But sometimes it's just staying exactly where you are and just healing. You gotta first heal in order for you to go and talk to people and be like, hey, you need healing. Like, let me pray over your life. Hey, you need
Right.
like prayer. You need that for yourself first. Like, we cannot help others unless we are good. Like, at least in a stable place. Because then when we
Right.
do, sometimes we can damage people, and so
Yeah.
like that story of hers, I don't remember her name. There's so many, but she is just an inspiration. Like, she stuck through the hard times. She stayed there with her mother-in-law. She could have left her. She could have been like,
Yeah.
pieces, deuces, gone, but she stayed. She
Yeah.
stayed. And they had a beautiful relationship. Like, their relationship is what I, want for me and my mother-in-law and my mom and
Yeah.
my husband, because it's so genuine. Like, we're family already. Dude, I'm
Yeah.
gonna ride with you regardless.
Aw.
So it's so good. Like, the Bible, it's like you can find everything in the Bible.
You really can. You
Whatever
absolutely
situation,
can. Yeah, you really
everything.
can. And let me tell you, I'm still learning the
Me
Bible. I'm
too.
still learning the Bible. And
There's so much.
God is so good that he gives me scripture and it literally aligns. Like, this is how, God speaks,
Hmm.
because he'll give me scripture and I'll go to that scripture and will have no idea what it's about, but he'll give it to me.
Yes.
I'll go right to my Bible, I'll open it, I'll read it, and I'm like,
I
you
know.
just you just get me, Lord. Like,
Like
it's
no
just it's
other.
it's amazing. Right.
Like
So,
no other.
yeah, we encourage you to open your Bible. Start
Please.
reading it.
Yeah.
Ask, what I do, like, before, like, if I feel like I need a word or something, or I need a
Hmm.
scripture
Yes.
and I don't even know where to begin sometimes, because it
Hmm.
can be a little overwhelming. The Bible's big.
Yes, it
It's
can.
it's big. But I usually just pray over it. I
Yes.
put my Bible down, I pray over it. I'm like, Holy Spirit, please, can you just guide me? Lead me to the
Right.
scripture that I need to hear today. You know,
Hmm.
lead me to that. And it
Yes.
never fails.
Never.
I'll open that book and bam.
Yes.
Or I'll get like a scripture in my mind and I'll go to it and bam, it's right on
Yep.
point. So,
And if
yeah.
you're not strong on your prayer and you're just starting, what I would encourage you to do is, on the Bible app, there are studies like we were mentioning. You
Yeah.
can literally put in there what you're feeling. If you're feeling depression or anxiety, you can click on that and it'll give you different studies based on what you're
Yeah.
feeling. Because sometimes, like, especially if you're just starting out, it's like Jen saying, like, the Bible's so big. Maybe your relationship with God is like non-existent, like you're not even praying that much and you don't have he hasn't revealed that to you yet, that gift. Because I know that's a gift, like being able to have God to be like, hey, oh,
Yeah.
Bible verse, you know, it just speaks life to you. So if you are not there yet and you haven't been able to tap into it yet, don't be discouraged. There's other ways to get into that. Like I said, if you're feeling a
Yeah.
certain way, or if you're going through something like a family issue, there are resources in the Bible that you can just click on, and depending on that, it will give you different studies, and they're really good because not only does it give you like Bible verses, it also is a teaching. It
Right.
walks you through it, so it's not as harsh as like, oh, I need to read it, and God is going to reveal to me what He wants to say. You know. So
Yeah.
also now we have Jen's website. I encourage you. I have seen it. It works. That's why I was so excited to be here, because I don't know, like, they do so much. They do so much, and they have so many resources for us ladies or gals, if you're watching, um to be equipped, to know better, to get to know, because that's our problem nowadays, is that we don't have a lot of knowledge. And knowledge, especially knowledge from from the Bible, is truth. And it says that the
Right.
truth will set you free. So get in there, man. However it is, just get in there. Get in that Bible little by little.
Yeah.
If you miss a day, that's fine. Catch up. You know, don't
Right.
just give up. Don't just give up. Bible is where it's at. That's where it's at. And
Yeah,
prayer. Those two.
absolutely. And do a little research because I'll tell you, I have like a million Bibles all over. I have all
Exactly.
different types of versions too, because I know that's another thing. I've actually gotten questions
Yes.
on that. Like, what is the best version for me? Well, it depends. What you can do is
Yes.
you can look it up. You can Google the different translations, like look up one specific verse or look up the different
Mhm.
translations and
Yep.
read through it and see which one appeals to you, which is easier to understand because there's so many different kinds.
There's so
But
many. And
that's
that's
yeah,
good because like what can appeal to one person doesn't appeal to another. But
right.
actually now that you said that, there have been times that, for example, sometimes if I go to like the old um version, like the newer, like the old version, um I'll find it, but then I wouldn't understand it. And then
Yeah.
I'll look into another translation and then I find it. But there are other times where I go into the old one and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. The words that they use is beautiful and it
Yeah.
speaks to me. So it depends on your season, it depends on your time.
Right.
Research, lots of research. Lots of
Yeah,
research.
but that's definitely the start there, just start
Right there.
just start. It
Yes,
it doesn't hurt
period.
if yeah, just start, just do something, and on the website as well, we have prayer templates and journaling
Yes.
templates. If you
Mm-hmm.
if your prayer life, like Sandra
It's so
said, is
difficult.
non-existent right now, or you don't have a
Mhm.
relationship with God right now, and you want to start that, start there. Even if you
Yes.
don't have a journal or anything, you can use those resources. They're PDFs, you can
Mm-hmm.
download them to your phone, whatever, but it's something to get you started.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this because I think this is
Yes.
so much needed for women,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and we don't open the conversation to it. Most people are
Correct.
just they're hesitant to talk about it, and I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not hesitant. I want to talk about my God. I
I
want to
love it.
share. I want to share about him and my testimony and what he's done in my life, and I'm not ashamed to do
Exactly.
that. And that's there's other areas of Live Reignited, but faith
Mm-hmm.
is so huge and God is
Yeah.
at the core of it. So we're going to share
Yes.
about it. We're going to talk about it.
Exactly.
And I know we're talking passion, purpose, and faith on this particular episode, but man, this is really where it starts. Like this is how you find
Yeah.
your passion and your purpose. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm so this was such an amazing
It was.
episode. I am like so excited. So Sandra, like to get us talking about what you're doing now. I know you already have music out. Fiel is
Yeah.
obviously one of my favorite songs, obviously.
Yay! I love
But
him.
I know I'm sure you're working on new music. You have new music
Yes,
coming out. You have a bunch of like really exciting things. So
I
tell us,
do.
like share with us what do you have going on? Because we want to be a part of it.
Yes. So, man, God is so great. He doesn't stop. He doesn't stop after one blessing. He keeps on blessing me. And I've been writing music a lot, especially for those who don't like to share about their feelings or their emotions and stuff like that. I feel like nobody talks about those people. Like everybody talks about,
Yeah.
the ones that are like, oh, I found my purpose and yay. But no one talks about like when I have to fake it to people, like how
Yeah.
is that world aligned to God? And so I'm focusing on writing songs that are more specific and shows more of a picture and a video for people to visualize what's happening. And we did that with Mi Petición. Mi Petición is about to come out on October 7th. The number
Woo!
7th is
That's
popping
exciting.
up again.
Amazing.
We didn't plan it, so they just told me yesterday it was gonna be October 7th. But that's how God works. And
Yeah.
so that song, it's about one of my specific prayers to God. Mi petición in English is my prayer, basically. And it talks about, when everything is hard and when everything comes at you all at once, my prayer is just to be with him and just have a moment with him. That's all I need.
That's
Like
beautiful.
I don't need to have years or hours. I just need to have one tiny moment where I can just feel it and
Yeah.
and have that presence, and I'll be okay. I'll conquer whatever it is that I'm going through. So that's my prayer, to always be with him and he be with me, and for that feeling to never go away.
Yeah.
That's the fuel. And the video, I let them know that I wanted the video for me not to come out too much. um I'm a very shy person, even though I might not seem so, but I really am. Um, like I prefer being at home over everything else. Like I'll hang out and I'm very adventurous and I like going out, but I am a home person. I like
Yeah.
my time, my quiet time where I just speak to God and I'm by myself. And so the video is gonna be focused more on the story. Again, I want you guys to visualize what I'm saying. You know, not just lyrics. I want there to be a connection overall. And
Yeah.
so the story shows like a family at a dinner table, and there's a couple of people there. So there's a couple of different opinions, beliefs, and all of us are intertwined in this one dinner table. And you know, you can kind of see how everybody has their own prayer and their own wants in life, because we do.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, you can have like this bad relationship with this person, but this person's also going through stuff, so we should pray
Right.
for them too, you know. And that's why my prayer is so important to me. I can't wait for it to be out. It's such a worship
Oh, I'm
song. Like
excited. I can't
it's
wait.
not fast. Okay, it's not fast. I want it to be intimate. I want it to be like soft and like pretty and sensitive, I
Yeah.
guess could be a word. But I wrote it with Chris Rocha and Amanda Kenner, the same people that I wrote Fiel. We just really clicked together, and I like it a lot. But aside from that song being out, I have saying like at my church we are doing a basically like a music worship group, like just like Hillsong United, you know.
Oh,
And we've
nice.
done actually two songs. We're about to go to two songs. The first one that we did is Greater Things. It's not out yet, but it's about to be out. I don't know the date, but it is such a good song. Again, it talks about it. Well, it was inspired by a session that we had at church, and it's based on monster minds, all of our monsters that we have in our minds, and how
Yeah.
they like to creep in and they like to destroy
Mhm.
us and beat us up. And
Yeah.
you know, just that reminder that greater things are to come, because we are the children of God. He makes sure that we're okay, you know. So I
Yeah.
have been there. I was featured there. The new one that we're going to be doing, hopefully I'm in there. I would love to be a part of it, because that's another good one. It's about it was inspired by a soldier. So I know your husband's a soldier, but it's
Yeah.
inspired by them, by the war, about that battle that we constantly have within ourselves. Prayer, it talks about prayer, which is greatest
Wow.
war that we gotta
Mhm.
be, you know, battling against, is through prayer.
Right.
But aside from music, you know, I have been called to share my gift. Like I don't want my gift to stay with me. I really don't. There's no point. You know, I want to create a legacy that it could be shared, and especially for those people who started like me. My parents couldn't
Yeah.
afford classes for singing. You know, I was barely even making it through as a dancer, you know. So I wanted to have it in a place where like it's easy for people to afford, but it's effective, you know. It's not just singing. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
be giving classes, worship classes. So it's both like how to worship, how to like lead, but also singing classes, like breathing techniques and um how I achieve my high notes, which is one of the things that I know how to do best, is my high notes. So I
Yeah.
want to be able to share that with people. You know, like why keep all this gift for myself, like me, when it shouldn't be. Like it was given by God for one purpose and one purpose only, and it's to share it, to be able to help people through music. So
Right.
um just be on the lookout. We are thinking, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but we're thinking of launching it on November 25th, so it's Black Friday. But we're not sure. We're doing a beta, so just like a trial, just to see what people like, what they would like for to see moving forward, and then we'll launch the big one. Because I mean, it's all about the people. It's all about what they need. because
Right.
maybe what I want them to know is not what they want to know. And these
Yeah.
people, you guys will be paying for this service. So I want to make sure I tackle everything and everything that you guys want to learn about. So that's coming up soon. If you do follow me on social media, I will be posting about it. Trust me, it's not gonna be a secret. And then like, hi. So I will post about it. My Instagram is Sandra Press Official with 2 F's. Same as in Facebook. I do have TikTok. It's the same way that you spell on Instagram and Facebook. But I also have Twitch, where if you guys haven't guessed, I play video games. Um, and I just enjoy it because it gets me to talk to my fans in like a
Yeah.
less calmer way, like let's just chill and talk about life and
Yeah.
scenarios that we go through. Like I'm young and it's hard for me to deal with things, so I want to make sure I can build a space, you know chill
Right.
enough that you are not questioning, is she being sincere, is she judging me, you know not
Yeah.
so pressured. So I do video games lives on Twitch. So yeah,
Huh?
that's me. That's what's coming up. I'm so excited. I
That's
cannot
awesome.
wait for
I'm
my song
excited
to
for
come
you.
out.
I'm
I
gonna be your
know.
cheerleader, and we'll be sharing as well.
Yay!
We'll be sharing on Live Reignited all of the cool things and
Thank you.
amazing new things that Sandra's up to, obviously. Um, and then I'll make sure I link everything, all of her social
Oh,
handles.
thank
I'll make sure
you.
everything's put in the description on YouTube. If you're listening in and you're not
Yes.
watching via YouTube, I'll leave everything in the show notes. So you can
Yes.
still go follow Sandra. Make sure you
Yay!
definitely go follow her on all of her platforms. And yes, we're rooting for you, Sandra.
Thank
I'm so
you.
excited for you. And I'm praying for you. I'm praying for everything that you're doing and
Please.
that it continues to just bring in blessings and to touch the people that it's meant to. And that's just
Exactly.
so awesome. But
Thank you.
thank you so much. This has been an amazing episode.
Oh,
I'm so happy that you got to come on and we got to have this
I
chat.
know.
It was an amazing conversation, and
I
I can't
loved
wait
it.
for the future to see what this partnership brings and where God takes us, because you never
Yep.
know. Who
You
knows?
never
You
know.
never
You
know.
never
So
know.
I'm so excited,
I just
and
want
I'd
to
love
say
to.
to you
Oh,
guys, if she does ever go to Texas, I want my props, okay? I want you to let them know, hey, it was Sandra did
it
it,
was me.
okay?
I'll let my husband know that too, because I've already told him we've been called, we've had this conversation, and now I'm gonna let him know too that you're
Exactly.
it'll be because you.
Girl, I already spoke it. I was like, wait, hold on. You've been here to Texas? And I'm here like, and she's talking about like she sings too. I'm like, holy Jesus.
I'm telling you, you never know. It
Bitch.
was just so funny that you said that too, because I'm like, this girl doesn't even know that my husband and I
Exactly.
have had these conversations for years. I have family down there. He has family down
Wow.
there. He spent
It's
an
meant to be.
entire out of all the places to get deployed, he got deployed and he's in Texas. He's been in Texas for the past year.
It's meant to be.
So I've visited how many times? And I kept telling him, I'm like, not that there's
Why?
like I can't handle the heat. And he was like, you're complaining about the heat. I'm like, I know, but there's just something about Texas. Like I feel a calling there, which is
Mm-hmm.
crazy because
Big
I love
one.
Chicago and I love the winters and the snow. But if God's calling me there, then and
You
I'm
gotta
meant to
move on
be
it.
there, then I'm not gonna fight it. I'm
Don't fight
not
it,
going
Jen,
to.
okay? He's gonna find you and he's gonna drag you out here. And
I'm
then you'll be like,
telling
oh, I
you.
should have done this.
This is so cool though. But yeah, I have a feeling we're gonna be down there sooner than
Oh
I probably
yes.
think.
Oh yes. I already know
You
it.
never
I
know.
already know it is my spirit, girl.
So all of our
Alright.
viewers, you'll get to see that journey. You'll see what happens.
It's gonna be a good one though. I
I
know
think
it. Because
so.
when God does
Yeah.
something, he does it good and he does it right.
He
So
does. And
I'm
it's
excited.
always bigger than we think. It's because I
Exactly.
always think so small. I'll tell you,
Mm,
throughout the years, like God will give me words, and I always am thinking so small. Even with the
mhm.
podcast and everything, I know we're still growing, but where we're at is like so much bigger than I would have
Wow.
ever imagined. What happened, what's going on with Live Reignited. the website, like everything that God allowed me to do, I did everything myself. I mean, I built the website from
Literally.
scratch myself,
That's so
and I
hard.
did it so fast, like, which is insane because I've worked with developers. I was
Mhm.
a senior marketing manager, so I ran the teams and
Exactly.
I worked with developers to do that. But I've never had to do it myself, and to be able to do it myself and for him to give me the resources and the passion and the drive to do it,
Mhm.
that was all God. I can't
Mm-mm.
take credit for that. But
Mm-mm.
yeah, it's just I that's the thing. You can think so small, but when
Mhm.
God gets involved, he's always gonna surprise you. It's gonna be so much bigger than you've ever dreamed of. I'll tell you that.
Literally.
So, just we'll end it
This
on
is
that
so
note.
good.
Like,
This is so
what
good. Oh
I
gosh.
know, right? We'll end it on that note. Just God is bigger. That's how I'm
Yes.
gonna end it. God is so much
God is
bigger.
big.
And I hope and I pray that everyone that's watching today or listening
Yes.
has really gotten something good out of the conversation and that we've been able to inspire you somehow,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. And if
Correct.
you have any questions or any feedback, leave them in the comments. We'd love to chat with you. Don't forget to go follow Sandra. Make sure you follow
Oh,
her. Make sure you download her songs, especially Fiel. That's
oh,
my favorite. I'm going to tell
so
you, it's
good.
amazing. I'm going to be playing it here. You'll hear it somewhere in this podcast.
Oh, you're
Um,
so cute.
but absolutely love it. And I love you so much, Sandra. Thank you again for being
Oh,
here.
thank you.
I'm so blessed and so grateful that you're here. And
So am I,
yeah,
man. So am I. These conversations are never enough. So I
I'm
just
telling
thank
you.
you that you trusted God because look where He has gotten you.
Yeah.
And just the ladies out there, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for staying and hearing our thoughts and the
Yeah.
way and the things that we've gone through. And I just hope and pray that it is good for you and that it edifies your home, edifies your heart, and just encourages you to keep on building on that relationship with God because that's what matters the most. I'm
Yeah.
just honored to be here, man. Like, I'm just like loving it. I'm loving it.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so
So
happy.
good.
And yes, we'll definitely have to have you back on. Um,
Oh,
we'll have to have you back on and we'll chat a little bit deeper. We'll get into some deeper
yes.
chats. And man, there's just so much. There's so much
So
more
much.
to talk about. There really is. It's exciting. So we'll definitely have to we're gonna put this on pause and we'll be back for
Exactly.
another podcast episode with Sandra. Again, thank you so much for being here. And ladies, thank you for supporting Live Reignited. Thank you for being here, for watching, for liking, for commenting,
Yes.
for subscribing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to leave it on this note. Like, go to livereignited.com, take advantage of all the free
Yes.
content that's on there. That's
Mm-hmm.
my gift from me to you. And I pray that it serves you. It's a good resource for you. I really
Yes.
hope you get something good out of it. But use it, take advantage. It's free. All you got to do is press
Mhm.
the button and download it.
Literally.
It's super easy. And then if
Okay.
you do subscribe to our newsletter, which is right on the website, it's a little
Yes.
box, just ask a couple questions. You automatically get access to the Women Reignited community, which is a free
Mm.
private Facebook community. We have we had 140. I think we're pushing 155 members now.
Yes.
It continues to grow. I do myself and Sam, we do live teachings in there. We do all different types of fun things. We do giveaways. We
So
chat. It's
cool.
just a place. It's a community for women to come together, to build
Exactly.
relationships, to have open conversations, to share. And again, it's private. It's I know everyone that comes in and anyone that goes out.
Yep.
Everything is very highly monitored, and that's just so you could feel safe to share.
Correct.
So, I also do extra content for anyone that's in the group. So yeah, it's definitely a perk for being a Live Reignited
Yes.
subscriber to our newsletter, and I consider you a VIP. So, all my VIPs. But again, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us. All of you beautiful women out there. Um, I bless you, pray for you, and we'll catch you next time. Bye. Woohoo! It sounds like they're wrestling and like jumping and rolling upstairs. I don't even know what's happening.
Not even my human child. That's the worst part.
In the air, what's that called? I forgot.
An
the
airplane?
word. An airplane. I'm so sorry. My words are
You're
really
good.
bad.
And the
Okay.
airplane, yeah, okay.
The airplane. I was
That
gonna
was
say.
cute. I liked your little in the air, the airplane.
Eva? I don't know. Is it Eve? Is that how you say it in English? Eve?
Eve? Yeah, Eve.
Eve? Okay.
Yeah.
I said it in Spanish. I was like, Eva?
Dog hair in my. Oh my gosh! I took the dogs to the vet earlier, and I'm not surprised I got dog hair everywhere. Bloopers. There's always going to be bloopers in these.
Please
as well,
put these on. And